Silverstone, England was the opening round of the American Le Mans Series Extended European Tour. There, problems befell the Panoz team as well as Audi in the final appearance of last year's R8R. BMW scooped up the spoils and the points lead. Next up, Le Mans. Though not a points race, the juggernaut of Audi's new R8 continued, improving on their 1-2 finish in their debut race at Sebring. With Panoz lagging and BMW absent, Audi dominated with a 1-2-3 podium sweep and their first ever win at La Sarthe. Most recently at the rebirth of the legendary Nürburgring 1000K, the weather proved too much for even Audi's vaunted effort. BMW struggled as well, and superb strategy resulted in Panoz's first European victory. Now the series is back on home soil, and round 5 is next, live from Sears Point here on Speed Vision. Welcome to the northern tip of San Francisco Bay and a gloriously warm Sears Point International Raceway for the American Le Mans Grand Prix of Sonoma. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Kramer. I'll be joined in the booth today by two-time Sebring 12-hour winner Derek Daly. When we look at the early part of the season, certainly the teams were interested in getting some points for the championship, but for most, the real push, honestly, was getting ready for Le Mans. Well, that race is now done, and Derek, after the recent round in Germany, this very international of championships is here at Sears Point, and we're now in the guts of that points chase.
We are. Whenever you make a serious championship run, really the performance in the middle of the season can have a profound effect on the end. So let's look at the contenders. BMW, last year's car, no factory backing. Their success comes actually when other people have problems. Let's look at the Panoz. You ought to see this thing here. It's like an animal that's untamed. It's so violent over these high-speed bumps. In fact, the drivers have their wrists wrapped so tightly you think they're going into a boxing match. Move up the front to the Audis. By far the best car over the bumps. Their gear shifting is like Formula One. Paddle shift on the back of the steering wheel. And they have power steering. And they're the fastest cars. You tell me who has the advantage in the middle of the season.
Well, and therein lies the conundrum, doesn't it? These cars, the Audi's designed for the ultra-smooth tracks like Le Mans. They're not supposed to be that fast here. A little bit earlier, our pit reporter Calvin Fish tried to find the answer.
Well, Greg, the conjecture before this race weekend would be, is the Audi R8 compatible with the twists and turns of Sears Point Raceway? Well, Alan McNish certainly answered that question yesterday. Not only taking the pole position, but he said it with the fastest lap ever around Sears Point Raceway. Alan, are you surprised how well the car is handled this weekend?
Definitely, because Calvin, you know, this is exactly the opposite to Le Mans. The car was designed for Le Mans, for the straights and also for the high-speed corners. I think in reality, though, the high-speed section down from turn 7 to turn 11 really suits us. It's very, very quick. It's 4th and 5th gear. It's about 150, 160 miles per hour. Where on the other side of the course, you've got the twiddly little sections in 2nd and 3rd. And I think that suits the Panoz.
Well, Alan is certainly expecting a challenge, not only from his teammates, but also the Panoz that start on the second row. But there's a battle further back in the field. Let's go down to Steve Evans for that story.
Thanks, Calvin, and hello, everyone. In the Grand Prix of Sonoma, there were 3 classes on the racetrack all at the same time, and the real door banging is probably going to be back here in the GT class. It's a Teutonic civil war between Porsche and BMW. Let me set the grid for you. Here's the Dick Barber Porsche. It'll be started by Dirk Mueller of Monaco. It is on the pole for this class. Right next door is a BMW. That will be Boris Said. Right next to Boris, yet another BMW from the same team. That'll be started by Brian Cunningham. And lastly, yet another Dick Barber car, the number 51 machine, and that'll be Bob Wallach. Now understand that Porsche has won the last 4 American Le Mans Series races. BMW has never been beaten at Sonoma. Wow, we're going to have some fun with this class.
I think we're going to have a great time with this one. Let's take a look at our Dodge starting lineup. On the front, it's McNish with that awesome time in the Audi next to his teammate Emanuele Pirol.
Row 2 is all Panoz. David Brabham, Jan Magnussen, teammates beside them, Johnny O'Connell, and the hero Cato.
Row 3 will be Mimo Scattarella and Didier de Radiguez in the Olive Garden Lola next to the points leaders, Leto and Mueller in the BMW.
Move back to row 4, Johansson and Smith, and Orboland and Gugnon in the BMW.
And as you take a look now at the rest of the field, including our GTS pole sitter, Wedlinger Beretta in the Viper, and GT pole sitter, as Steve Evans alluded to, these gentlemen and those Porsches and that BMW should be an absolutely great fight. And already, Derek, we see the pace car lights out. It doesn't go into pit lane here. It'll actually wrap around that turn 11, then just move over into the infield, correct? That's when we'll know we're going.
That's right. We have plenty of onboard cameras for you. We're going to show you just after the start line here. The GT fastest car was Mueller Lure Dick Barber's car. This should be a California freeway traffic jam.
Taking a look at the onboards, the number 7 BMW. That's the number 5 Porsche, of course, the pole sitter, the 92 Viper. Second in class, 38 is Dorsey Schrader and James Weaver. 43, the BMW, and then the number 78 Audi outside the front row, and we are underway. 2 hours and 45 minutes, the Grand Prix of Sonoma, and McNish leads up the hill. But look at that, that's Brabham, and he obviously wanted to get by in a hurry.
Oh, did you see J.J. Leto in the BMW all over the curbs trying to get by one of the Panoz cars?
Leto knows he wants to get to the front early in this one. They have got to get the job done. They just haven't been quite on the pace. Right now, it's Audis out front, then the 2 Panoz cars, then it is Lelo, and he was able to get around the Olive Garden and Lola. Good start for J.J. Leto.
And this is the twiddly little bits that Alan McNish spoke about earlier on. Then they get to the long high-speed S's, and they are so fast. Great onboard camera stuff here.
That's on board with Bill Oberlin. They come out of that long downhill carousel, and then here they bend into turn 7, and this starts the run that McNish said really favors the Audis.
This is it. Load the gun right here. Just watch the speed through these S's.
Each one of these S's snugs up just a little bit, and turn 10, the last corner of the S's, that is a serious gut check corner.
On board again with Bill Oberlin. Number 42, there's our speed shot, 160 miles an hour before the braking zone here, turn 11.
Hard hairpin corner here, and a lot of different lines utilized going in there. There's a look at the number 43 car carrying the onboard of Bill Oberlin, and he right now sits back ways in the order, of course. They struggled a little bit. They weren't quite as quick as the team car, Derek.
No, but the 2 Audis lead again. The Panoz cars right behind them. There's the BMW. This first of the private cars. Mimos, Chiatarella, and Derry Degas, ex-motorcycle racer in that car, the Raffinelli car.
Here's a good look at your leaders in GT. Now, there are but 3 cars in that class. That is the Vipers. Then we have our GTS, that Porsche right there. There are the 2 Barber cars. There is the number 7 BMW running in the GT division. And that car, started by Boris Said, on board right now as he is giving chase to the 2 Barber machines.
BMWs have gone very well here. Dick Barber has won all this class, all the GT classes so far this year, and BMW never beaten here. Remember, Steve Evans alluded to that, told us that at the top of the show.
As a matter of fact, the last time they ran here on the very last lap, Hans Stuck stole the win away, really, from one of the Porsches. A great last lap pass. So I think the Porsche contingent as a whole feels there's a little bit that this track owes them here.
There's the Barber Porsche right there with Boris Said right behind him.
Dirk Mueller has been absolutely the fastest of the Porsche drivers, has been on pole more often than not in that category, has been very impressive indeed. The car in front there is actually not one of the Barber cars. That is the 3rd car in GTS, the 08. That's the car started by Vic Rice from Rook Motorsports North America, the men's fitness and Yokohama Turbo.
Yeah, and you caught a glimpse of, there it is right there, the Field Sutherland. Lola had a terrible opening lap. He has dropped way back, now making his way past some of the GT cars.
Well, John Field, known for ultra-aggressive starts. Sometimes it works, sometimes he finds himself off the course, and he's got to make up some ground. I fear that's what's going to happen. But boy, you can see it takes very little time for those prototype cars to get by the GT and even the GTS machines. On the uphill now, heading into turn 2, and he's parked right now behind Mueller. And he's going to try and pull right here, I would suspect, try and get the blast done. There he goes, as they head up now into turn 3, 3A, and 4, top of the hill.
This is incredible elevation changes here. I mean, this is climbing up the side of a wall, then you plunge downhill again. Unbelievable elevation changes here at Sears Point. Just great road racing.
Flattens out right here, and then there's a huge and very abrupt rise right there, and then the drop into what they call the carousel, which is a long arcing 180-degree corner, and it just falls away all the way down to the bottom to the drag strip.
Extremely difficult to pass here. In fact, passes are made only by the very brave.
So continuing to watch that battle for the GT division lead. and it currently is held by a very quick Dirk Mueller in the number 5 Borber Porsche. We'll be right back to Sonoma.
The American Le Mans Grand Prix of Sonoma is brought to you by Dodge. In a perfect world, everything would be different. And by Pirelli and your local Pirelli retailer.
Folks, we want to take you right now on a tour of this track. Here's the Audi track map, and Derek Daly, some of the European drivers that have been racing for a while say it has the feel of the legendary Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Just compressed a little bit from turn 11, the end of the lap, all the way down to turn 7. The twiddly little bits that Alan McNish talked about, but dramatic elevation changes. Very bumpy, dusty, very narrow. Then the high-speed S's in the run between turn 7 all the way down to 11. That's where the high speed is.
11 and 7 are the two corners where you can do some passing. We're going to take a lap now. You're on board with the number 78 Audi in the hands of Emanuele Pirot. And this is a look at Sears Point. We're way up top right now, dropping down into turn 5. And right around this corner, Derek, here's that rise. It's an abrupt rise down into the carousel. We're going to throw in a little telemetry here. Take a look at the lateral G-loads they're getting. Oh, he had to just park.
And there's one of the problems we'll have all afternoon here, because the 3 classes run at the same time. These prototype cars are so much faster, 15 seconds a lap faster sometimes. You have to be super careful, because the guys ahead, quite frankly, don't see these coming sometimes.
Now this is that S's section, McNish said, really works to the Audis.
High speed here, very high speed. The Audis are at their very best here, slight elevation changes, but here's the last right-hander. This is where you hold your breath and just slingshot through here. Now it's the braking zone for turn 11. Hardest braking zone on the racetrack. Look at the traffic jam here.
And we're only working lap 6 and already into that level of traffic. He does a nice job of cutting low. Goes underneath. Here now, through the next couple of corners, Derek, is that immense climb up the hill.
Up the mountain, right up the mountain here. You turn left, you brace yourself, bam, you slam into almost a banking here. Up, hill, keep going. Then you turn right, go over the top. Cross the top of the mountain slightly, down a dip, and we're going up again. Have a look at this. We're going again, up to the top of the hill, and then you begin to come back down.
This is where we joined Emanuele on that lap, and what an awesome lap it is. Now, the start was so impressive, Calvin.
Well, the start is so important here, Greg. The Audi team were very pleased to be on the front row, and they remember the ring where they really got swallowed up by the competition as they took the green flag. They weren't about to let that happen here at Sears Point Raceway. They had a game plan. Seemed like they sacrificed Pirot a little bit off the start, and McNish really took off when they came out of a turn 11. Seems to be working so far, but traffic is really going to be a factor this afternoon.
It is a traffic jam down here at the hairpin. It is mighty stuff right now.
It's unreal. As a matter of fact, McNish's best lap so far, 3/10 quicker than anybody else. There's a look at the class-leading GT. That's the number 5 Barber Racing entry, driven by Dirk Mueller. And the car looking okay, but look at what happened a little bit earlier, Derek.
Now this is, he catches the GTS car, which is supposed to be faster. Down the inside, Vic Rice is in, the number 08, he turns in, and Mueller has to clip the inside of the curve. I hope he didn't do any damage.
Well, right before we went to that replay, we had a good look at the left side of that car. I didn't see any damage, and still don't, so I think they may have got away with it. And there he goes, just that fast, folks. 8 laps in the GT class, down a lap already. Mueller leading, and right behind him is Emanuele Pirot, the 78 Audi. Back on board as he makes the pass, cuts back. And you talked about going over the rises. So many of those rises are at the apex of corners. The car gets very light. They tend to break loose and spin the tires. That can be very tough on drive lines.
And a major key to going fast here at Sears Point is the apexes are very often blind. You can't see them at the time you have to commit yourself to high speed and to being on the power. That's why local knowledge really is a big benefit here quite often.
Watching that Panoz right now, and of course one of the things with this race, temperatures a little warmer than they have been, and Steve Evans, I understand tire strategy for the prototypes might be an issue.
You bet. Remember, you have to start the race in the same tires you qualified with. Yesterday, Audi went with a very soft compound Michelin to ensure they would get the pole of the track record. They accomplished that, and they're still out on those tires. How durable are they going to be? The Panoz, on the other hand, went with a harder, more durable tire. It's a little slower to come up to racing temperature, but they may be able to double stint these tires and save some time in the pits. And speaking of pit stops, the prototypes will make 2 mostly, and possibly a splash for fuel at the end. The GT cars, Porsche could possibly, if everything went perfectly, do this race on 1 stop. Doubtful for BMW.
Well, that's certainly going to make the mix interesting. And Derek, you talked in the open about how violent, how tough these Panoz cars are to drive. We're seeing evidence of that. They are bouncing and jumping around this track.
And the television cameras don't do the physical effort here justice. This is a fight for these boys. After Mario Andretti drove the car at Le Mans, they did discuss putting power steering on this car. They have tried it. They have not perfected it yet. But this is a fight. This is a war trying to keep this car going fast and keep it on the little black piece.
Well, they said the power steering unit they tried isn't reliable, and when it fails, it makes it even worse. And they said what they've had to do, since they can't run power steering, they've had to change the suspension to make it easier to turn the cars, and that's the caster on the car, which can make the car even more of a handful to drive. I mean, it's like a double negative almost.
Great pictures here of David Brabham. To turn the steering wheel on this car in a high-speed corner, there's 80 pounds of load, as we now watch Johnny O'Connell. But imagine 80 pounds of load to turn the wheel here in these high-speed corners.
We were speculating, would these prototype drivers, would they double stint if they've got 2 stops? I would suspect with those loads in the Panoz cars, they may not have the option. They may need to replace the drivers every stop just to let the arms come back.
Yeah, but the problem is then you lose too much time. The driver change takes so much time because we're running to Le Mans pit rules. You fuel it first, then you work on the car.
So the drivers are just going to have to toughen up. Oh, that's one of the 2 cars from the Racers group, the either 66. We get word now it's the 66. That's Kevin Buckler, the owner of the Racers group, who in the past here, his team is actually based right here. He has been brutally fast on this circuit, but problems early on.
And that's a classic example here of local knowledge making you very effective. Kevin has a shop just right across the road here, right over that barrier right there. Prepares a lot of racing cars for a lot of people, but this is well and truly over.
That was a substantial let go of whatever component it was. A huge cloud of smoke. He's parked it. There is a 67 still. There's Jennifer Tuminelli out in the Racers group. And right now we take you to one of the more dramatic onboard views of the Viper here at Sears Point. Back at Sears Point for the 5th round of the American Le Mans Championship, and you are on board once again. The nose of the number 92 Viper in the hands of right now David Donahue, completing a lap. And this is the climb up the hill from that perspective. There's a good look at the car, and it's the All-American driving tandem of Donahue and teammate Archer. That's Tommy Archer, of course, and they are currently 2nd in the class behind the leader in the category, so teammate.
Yeah, and we have some great pictures from that bumper cam, particularly with the GTP cars or the P cars go flying by. I mean, the speed differential is just enormous here.
Yeah, watch this right here in the turn. Actually, both are right there. I mean, that gives you an idea of just how close things are on this track. Here's that drop down into 5. Here's the rise. And then they just plummet down into this carousel. And I'll tell you, you've got to get through this turn great because you've got a good passing opportunity in 7, but you got to get a run if you're racing somewhere.
And this is a good run here for Stefan Johansson, right ahead. They're ahead of Bill Oberlin in the BMW, who are just ahead of this Viper number 92.
Following them right there, there's the leader in the GTS division, the number 91 Team America Viper. And there is Stefan Johansson. And again, this is a relatively... They have right there Stefan Johansson. They've been running this car. They've added a team car, which Mark Simo has started, number 24. But this is their lone team, really, for a while, Derek, that is stuck with the Reynard program. A couple of teams went back to an older chassis until the Reynard was perfected. These guys have helped perfect it.
Yeah, this was a disaster at the start at Sebring. Stefan gets it sideways under power, but a disaster at Sebring. Sent it back to the factory. Chassis is now much, much stiffer. Gearbox is better. Suspension geometry, aerodynamics have been changed, and the car gets closer and closer to the pace all the time.
Working up to the top of the hill, right behind Johansson right now. Johansson is Bill Oberlin right there in that white number 43 BMW. And now they climb up to the very highest point on the track.
BMW is a very good team, but let's face it, we said it at the top of the show, they are not developing this car. They don't have the finance that Audi has, so really they have to try and strategically win these races, because the chances of winning consistently with speed is now pretty low.
So they basically just have to run to a pace, and Leto admitted earlier, he said basically they're running on the edge every lap all the time just to stay in the hunt should a problem occur.
Still running down Stefan here, Bill Oberlin, the only U.S. representative in this P class effort with BMW. Teammate of Jean-Marc Gagnon.
Working through the S's. Now, of course, we talked about that GT battle, and one of the favorites was the number 51 Barber machine. There it is, Bob Wallach driving, and they have already had a little bit of a moment on the track, we understand. And their car is now heading up the hill again. But let's take a look at the replay, Derek. A bit of contact with James Weaver. Watch.
Weaver in the Lola down the inside. Look at this. Closes down. Weaver can't get out of it. Oh, and then just touch, and he sends him around. That's going to happen all afternoon long here.
Let's go on board Weaver's camera and take a look at that replay again. Watch this. Right over the head of James Weaver.
James takes a chance here. Committed, and he sees Bob Waller come across. There's nothing he can do except try and hope that the low tap doesn't do too much damage. You know what? I think he got away with it.
I think they both did, and he locked up big time to try and avoid it. The concern there is the lockup on the tires.
And remember now, we've had both Barber cars in incidents, and we're only 13 laps into this.
Well, Steve said he figured that the fender rubbing might come in GT, but it's been the GT cars up against other class cars that have been causing the rubbing so far. Still in all, though, Mueller continues to lead with Boris Said in the number 7 BMW second in the GT category. The number 10 BMW of Brian Cunningham is third, and Randy Popes in the number 23 Cranium Porsche sits in the 4th spot with Peter Cunningham in the number 6 BMW rounding out the top 5. This is a car, it's been talk about a roller coaster ride. Mimo Scatarella here coming up in the Olive Garden Lola. This car out-qualified the factory cars at Silverstone, sat on pole. Here, though, it's struggling.
Yeah, and it's a high downforce car. They really expect this to run very, very well here. They haven't quite got the sweet spot, but this is a very potent machine here. It runs with a V10 engine. For ex-Formula 1 engine, just sounds mighty when you hear that thing whiz by.
Oh, and here's a big clump of traffic. There's Johansson with Oberlin right behind, working through the GT category. We talked about this in the open. It is going to be a factor for the entire 2 3/4 hour distance. Traffic.
Now, and Greg, this is great fun and very frustrating at the same time. For a driver to get slowed down, it is frustrating, but you have to be so super disciplined. But for entertainment value, to see the speed differential between these cars, it is pretty mighty.
Well, you have to be patient in the extreme, but then when the moment presents itself, absolutely decisive, make the pass, don't be tentative, or that's when you're going to run into problems. We are on board momentarily with Bill Oberlin as he continues to chase Stefan Johansson as they head into turn 7 here at Sears Point International Raceway. McNish continues to lead with Brabham in third. As the American Le Mans Series leaves Germany, the Formula One circuit heads back to Germany and the Hockenheim Ring for the German Grand Prix. And of course, all of the qualifying and race action will be live on Speed Vision. Coverage begins Saturday, July 29th at 7 a.m. Eastern for qualifying. Then the pre-race and race coverage Sunday morning, the 30th at 7:30 a.m. Eastern. There are far too many storylines to cover in this promo, so be sure to join us this weekend for the German Grand Prix live on Speed Vision.
Now this is a good fight here, Greg, because J.J. Leto and Sciattarella are actually closing in on Johnny O'Connell, the number 2 Panoz car, running 4th. So McNish and Pirro, the Audi, still lead 1-2. Brabham and O'Connell are 3rd and 4th. And then Leto and Sciattarella are beginning to close in, and they're still in the traffic. And look at Sciattarella right behind the BMW of J.J. Leto. There's O'Connell.
There's O'Connell, so that's the margin there in the battle for 4th. Not far behind them either. That battle between Johansson and the Reynard Judd, number 36, and Oberlin and the other BMW continues to be close. Look at this. Traffic.
Yikes. 3 wide in the middle of the S's. You don't often get away with a move like that.
Boy, Schiattarella saw that Lato got bottled up behind traffic a little bit and was thinking about it. And Lato, well, nice job there by Dirk Mueller, who saw Lato coming, realized it, moved over. Now does he see Schiattarella as well? Yes, he let Schiattarella go, but it held up Schiattarella, and that margin has expanded out to about 5 lengths.
Yikes. Yeah, that had potential scariness written all over it. And Mimo Schiattarella backed off at the right time to give them all a tiny bit of room. O'Connell is being run down. They are beginning to catch him.
Yeah, the margin right now about 2 seconds between O'Connell and Lato. And of course, boy, Schiattarella made that margin up again in a heartbeat. So obviously that Raffinelli Lola is running very, very quickly at this point. Judd V10 engine in that car. And that comes up to another point, doesn't it? Fuel consumption. It's a little bit iffy. As they said, 2 stops for sure, maybe a splash. The Judd and the V12 and the BMW tend to be a little bit better on fuel, perhaps.
Yes, certainly the BMW as you look at the lap time and the lap speed for Schiattarella here. But the BMW has been impressive always in this P car with fuel consumption.
Good look at J.J. Lato, currently leading in the points along with his teammate Jörg Mueller. And the number 24, that's Mark Simmel, the team entry to Stefan Johansson.
Yeah.
So Simmel, this is his first start in this car. Every race this year, he's driven a different LMP car. He's trying to get a feel for what kind of car he'd like to maybe run next year. So he's been guesting a lot. And look at this. We've got Schiattarella. Looks like he went around the outside of Lato down in turn 11.
Maybe the high downforce on this Raffinelli Run Lola is beginning to pay dividends here under race conditions. And look, the GT cars, you got to squeeze past them again.
That raised nose on the Lola, the brand new Lola, has done wonders in terms of creating additional downforce without really affecting the drag numbers at all. And everybody who's running it now says the car is really, really a joy to drive. And you put a Judd V10 in the back, that's a pretty potent package.
Here we go, the elevation changes again. I mean, this is going to be a high-speed game of Russian roulette all afternoon long here. Can you dare to make the moves? Can you go down the inside of people and hope that they see you, particularly if you're protecting a position or trying to run somebody down?
Well, you've seen fair evidence here of just what traffic can do. It certainly helped Schiattarella when he was chasing Lato. Now, that one car that it took Lato a little longer to get by has ballooned that margin up to a good 1.5 seconds.
And there's the key corner not to get caught in, the high-speed apexes.
So there's the shot, and there's Lato once again bottled up behind lap traffic, and Schiattarella is very easily making good his escape. We are early into the Grand Prix of Sonoma. McNish, Pirro, and the Audis up front. Brabham, O'Connell, and Schiattarella now 5th. It is the Sonoma Valley. That's wine country, and that's probably the most valuable resource these hills have seen since the gold rush San Francisco experienced, a decade or a couple of decades, maybe even a century ago. And boy, in the spring, when those grapes are really in growing, that's the color of these hills around here. You can see the brown now as we're in drought season. And take a look here as James Weaver is, he's just sort of, I think he's just waving cars by. That car has not been on pace, Derek. And I think he's struggling just with speed, and he's been letting cars go through and just waving them by. He's not pitting.
I'm surprised he does this, but he makes it easy for all these cars. He's a lap down now. He's running in 10th place. He is the second last of the P cars. The Field Sutherland car is still behind him, but we saw them have trouble on the opening lap. With Jim Weaver, remember, this is the champion Porsche. They have a Porsche engine at the back of this. It does not suit this chassis. They cannot feed enough air into the engine to make enough horsepower. They're working on it as a development in progress, but it is a bit of a disappointment because there is some quasi-factory support for this effort here.
Part of the problem, along with the power the engine's making because of the air inlets, which they seem to have solved, is the engine is a bigger engine than the one the car was originally designed for, so now they have to work on the balance.
And Dorsey Schrader is the teammate of Jim Weaver in this car. Believe it or not, Dorsey Schrader, during practice here, broke a tooth going over a bump, clenching his teeth because the violence of the bump was so great.
And we're watching those lateral Gs going through the carousel might tell the story. The Audis were running almost 2.5 Gs according to that lateral G-force up top. The best Weaver was making through there that last time was about 1.8, so almost half again as small a load, and that means that car is just not working right now. Now we want to go back to and show you a battle that's starting to build in the GT division, as was anticipated. There's number 5. That's the Barber Racing entry. Dirk Mueller coming up and chasing and wanting to put a lap on one of the cars in that class, the 67. That's the Scient entry from the Racers Group. But right behind that BMW, that is the number 7 entry of Boris Said. We're on board now with Boris, and that's the battle for the lead in GT right now. It's that close. Traffic affecting it a little bit, but these BMWs, this team was waiting for this track because they said, one, this is the kind of track the BMW loves. Very, very busy. It transitions corners well. Has great braking. Oh, it's Gettarella has pulled off in the Olive Garden Lola. Lots of smoke emanating from the pipes.
Yeah, the old hand grenade just went off. The V10 ex-Formula 1 engine, glorious sound off these. Having a great run, had just passed JJ Leto. And we will do it no more this afternoon. He only went 22 laps.
Worked his way back up into 5th where he'd qualified, and boy, I'll tell you, there is nobody in the pit or paddock area that enjoys their racing, especially taking on the factories, like the owner of this team. Calvin, he's got to be disappointed.
Well, Gabriella Raffinelli, you guys were pumping your fists here just a few moments ago when Mimo overtook JJ there. What put you out of the race today?
Well, I mean, we could have been in a very good position at the end. Unfortunately, I just heard on the radio that the engine is gone, so bad luck. We have to wait for the next one.
Were you guys looking to double or single stint tires? How are the conditions out there?
Double stints.
Okay, these guys would have been strong guys. They had a strong car, double stinting tires. They could have been a factor on the podium today.
I think they very realistically could have. That car seemed to be working very well, but that high revving V10 apparently a problem. And Derek, we're going to go and take a look at exactly what happened, and it was just at the exit of the carousel.
And they came here looking for vindication because at Silverstone they were fast, they led the race, they had a throttle linkage problem there, and they looked extremely strong here until the barbecue started. Right there.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. That's over in the turn 7 area. We're going to go back now to that GT battle. We're on board with Boris Said. Here's one of the Panoz cars working through. Right there is the Barber Porsche that Said is chasing. As there goes Brabham working through, currently 3rd overall in the Panoz. And here's Boris Said in full attack mode as he is chasing down, or trying to chase down, Dirk Mueller, as they now drop down into that carousel.
And it's probably fair to say, Greg, this will be the battle of the afternoon here, the GT class. There's not enough cars running strongly in the GTS class. The Audis look like they may dominate the P class, but this here is the fight we all expected, and Steve alluded to this at the top of the show. The Porsche and the BMW are so strong here and so evenly matched.
Now, one of the things to really watch, take a look. This is what Boris Said down in the footwell, the footwork he's going to be utilizing. Now, there's an upshift as they're starting to work through those S's, another upshift. But we're going to really watch for a little dab on the brake. It's through turn 10 and into 11, Derek, where he gets real busy.
Yeah, but look what he does with his left foot. He spends most of the time bracing himself in the car, hard against the footrest on the left-hand side.
Now, here he goes hard to throttle. That's out of turn 10. Now, watch the footwork as he heads
left
down
foot brakes and right foot brakes. Wow, so Boris taps it with the left and then brakes with the right. Look, getting ready again. Happened so fast. Great camera shot here of the footwell. Now back to brace himself, the left foot. Going up the hill here, remember. Right foot braker, heel toe. Look the way he rolls the foot off the brake pedal onto the power, rev the engine, synchronize the gear change. He will do that hundreds and hundreds of times this afternoon and still maybe not catch the Porsche that's only half a car length ahead of him.
And that Porsche just locked up the right front, so Boris is applying immense pressure as he's chasing that Porsche right now. And again, the ballet continues, and it really is. I mean, we're just looking at the feet, not what the hands are doing as he's working the wheel and shifting. It is an absolute science and art and ballet inside these cars to make them go quick. And he got a great run down the carousel, and into 7 is one of the great overtaking areas.
One of the classic battles for years and years and years. Porsche versus BMW on the racetrack.
And what a study in engines, too. That Porsche, that flat six, the classic engine, and then the inline six of the BMW.
Couldn't be more different. Dick Barber, almost 20 years away from racing, then builds this team for this year. Probably, I mean, many people would argue it's the most professionally run team in the paddock here. Everything is spotless, everything is brand new. Dick Barber has had lines of people want to shake his hand here all weekend long because he is so popular here in Northern California.
There we go. But Boris had a little bit tighter exit out of that hairpin, didn't he? He got down and straight lined and got the throttle pretty good here. And he is chasing again, and there goes. That's O'Connell now going by back in the fourth spot. And, oh, look at the traffic jam. And where's a wrecker on track here at the top of the hill?
BMW.
Yeah, number 10. It's the number 10 entry.
Brian Cunningham is behind the wheel. Oh.
That's the white flag. Okay. That just means there's an emergency vehicle on track. That's what the white flag means in road racing here. But Brian Cunningham, whatever it is terminal. It doesn't look like he got in. I don't see any damage on the car, Derek.
No.
Well, maybe mechanical just pulled off. This and the 7 car are the 2 newest cars in the Prototype Technology Group camp. And they've done a lot of work on the engine internals, a lot of work on suspension, and maybe something just let go.
Tom Milner runs these cars. You can see lots of modifications to the roof and to the bonnet of the front.
Boy, we've got a great battle for second amidst all of the GT action. David Brabham, who has been an absolute thorn in the side of the Audi equip this season, is applying immense pressure to Emanuele Pirot in the battle for second. But before we follow this, let's go back down to the pits. Calvin, I understand you with Tom Milner.
You guys really seem to have a strong car this weekend. Sears Point has been kind to you in the past. Can you pull it off here today?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. It's tire management. We are slowly sneaking up. We're real close to the 5 car now. So the pit stop will have something to do with a good pit stop. I think we have as good a chance as we've had so far.
That's the 10 car running. I understand Brian may be having some problems.
Yes, I think that sounds like we broke either a CD joint or a half shaft on the 10 car.
Okay, well, we've got 3 cars on this team. Hopefully one of them can bring it home for BMW today.
Thanks, Calvin. And Derek, that's what we were talking about. All the elevation rises through the corners here. You break the tires loose, going to throttle too soon. It can wreak havoc on drive lines. And we may have just witnessed the first failure of that sort here in the 2 hours and 45 minutes of the American Le Mans Grand Prix of Sonoma. Lead is still McNish. Second. It's getting interesting. We are back at Sears Point, and the battle for second place is fierce. Emanuele Pirot in the Audi holds it, but number 1 Brabham in the Panoz is right behind. And look at the mirror. Well, you can't see it right in the minute, but when you go on board, take a look whenever we're on board at the mirror on Pirot's car on the right. Sometimes under braking, you can see Brabham close right up. It is just that close, and Pirot has been absolutely parked by traffic a couple of times, Derek, and Brabham is all over. There you can just see Brabham.
We're 25 laps into it, and this is a great fight here for second place. McNish is now about, looks like 6 or 7 seconds clear. In fact, he's 22 seconds clear. He's well up the road. But Pirot not as happy with what's going on here as McNish is, and David Brabham hangs on to this animal here and closes in on that second place. This is a good fight here.
Well, Brabham's the one guy who's been able to take it to the Audis on occasion here, a couple of times early in the year, actually passing and outrunning him, as has Magnussen, frankly. But now that battle for second is eased away a little bit, and it looks as though right now Pirot is the one. He gets trapped in traffic, and that's when Brabham is able to close in. When they have no traffic, it does look like Pirot still has the measure just a little bit of Brabham at this stage. But interestingly, McNish now out front is the only driver who has dipped into the 122s. He did that very, very early on. Now everybody's backed off, Derek. Most everybody's running the 125s, 26s, 27s in their race pace right now. But right now it is, Brabham locking it up big time. Calvin, I was thinking maybe they're going into a little bit of a race pace, but Brabham seems to be working that Panoz very hard.
He is certainly pushing it hard, Greg. I just spoke to Dave Price, who runs the team, and he said that Brabham said the car is handling well. They're hoping they can double stint the tires, but if he just locks them up, that may be a factor. But an interesting note with the Panoz this year. Last year they had the engines done by Robert Yates. They had qualifying engines, spending a lot of money there. They took all of the engines in-house this year, and the engines are now doing 25,000 kilometers, which means they ran the ring. They're going to run this race and hopefully Mosport with the same engine. Quite unbelievable.
Oh, look at this, though. Here's the traffic jam. Here's where Pirro could get himself in trouble. John Field now is the meat of the sandwich. He moves over. But when you get stuck, when you get caught behind in the high-speed S's here, you lose a huge amount of momentum.
Well, and you saw Brabham was able to get around that Porsche in that bending part of the S's turn 9, and it didn't hold him up one bit. Pirro is going to get stuck again, exiting the hairpin. Now he can get around, obviously, but he's not going to be able to get out of the turn quite as quick. And Brabham, clear sailing here, is going to duck underneath that car. Didn't get impeded at all. So far, Brabham clearly getting the better break in traffic.
And they are about 24 seconds up the road from Johnny O'Connell, so they have pulled away from the second of the Panoz cars.
Well, we're watching number 1 David Brabham right now as he is in that chase. And Derek talked earlier about just how much of an animal this car is to drive. Well, David Brabham bore that out a little bit earlier here. Let's listen to David describe the ride.
It's very tough. I wish we had it, but we've had a power steering unit for a couple of races, and we've had a few problems. We didn't actually run it at the race at Nürburgring, but we certainly could do with it here. But it's got to be working to be right. And yesterday my arms were aching really, really badly, and we've had to actually adjust the car to help the steering a little bit, which is not always a good thing. But you've got to be there at the end to fight, so you got to have good endurance.
Well, that's exactly what we were talking about. And when he said if you change the car to make it easier to steer, it sometimes affects the handle.
No, absolutely affects the handling. And remember now, his arms are aching yesterday. The practice sessions are only about an hour long, and you stop and start and have plenty of time to rest. This is going to be a 2-hour run here, where you're in the car for quite a length of time. So if your arms ached yesterday, he's going to be a sore boy today if he goes all the way.
He'll have earned his salary, no question. There's James Weaver going around the leader in the GT division. That's Dirk Mueller. And Weaver now just trying to bring this car home to the finish. I think a bit more of an elongated test session than anything else for that Lola Porsche. McNish, Pirro, Brabham up front.
The American Le Mans Grand Prix of Sonoma is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
And we are on board with Bill Oberlin in the number 43 Le Mans prototype BMW as he's scrapping right now. He's in 7th, and up front still is number 6. That's Stefan Johansson and the Johansson Matthews, Reynard Judd. And that's the view he's been experiencing for an awful lot of this race, trying anything to come through, going by one of the GTS cars, and he continues to work the chase right now. The BMWs, it's been an interesting season as, again, there's traffic working through here at the great track here and dropping down into the carousel. But it's been an interesting season, and it's been the consistently, not the outright speed for BMW, that has paid off. At Sebring, things were looking good, and in this moment, contact right there with one of the Panoz cars, and it really took them out of the hunt in that one. They weren't too far from the pace. At Charlotte, it all came good. After the Panoz team went to the front early, J.J. Leto and Jörg Mueller came back and got the win with a great drive. At Silverstone, that repeated itself. There's Victory Circle at Charlotte, and they got to do it again at Silverstone as they put in a simply classic drive and brought home the victory once again, and that really established them in the points lead at that point, as there's the victory salute, if you will, at Silverstone, and the team got the points lead, and the celebration right there always going on at that point. However, they didn't go to Le Mans. Then at Nürburgring, the weather caught them out, a late race spin, and it really took them out of a shot at the win, and of course the Panoz went on to do it. And then later in the race, boom, a little punt right there from one of the Audis. It has not been a good run in Germany for the BMW team. And here again, they're just not on the pace. And right there, you see McNish actually going the lap up.
And now from here on, for the rest of this season, the new Audi, which is the car we see here, will run in every race, which will make them even more competitive. The Panoz cars seems to be a little bit faster in overall speed than the BMW, and we know they don't have the funding from the factory to continue development on this car. And this is the time that may tell the tale. You just begin to fall back a little bit, and you really can't rely on just consistency and reliability I think, to win this championship, particularly if Audi are coming on this strong.
Well, that's really it, isn't it? I mean, they developed this car, worked it, but you know, we talked about how impressive this car's been over the bumps here, the Audi. And when it gets right down to it, we look at Sebring. Yeah, that's a fast, high-speed track, but it's considered one of the roughest tracks in the world. And the Audi looked like it was absolutely skating on smooth ice there.
Loved it. On board again with Bill Orberlin, still chasing Stefan Johansson. Still keeping the noses clean here. We've seen many incidents, but these boys are clean so far. And in a great fight, Stefan Orberlin.
Through turn 10, that is a breathtakingly fast corner. The battle's back on for second, Derek. Traffic has slowed up Pirot again, and Brabham has turned the wick up. There's more traffic in front. They're working the S's.
Here's the problem. The high-speed S's, if you have to back off right there, Brabham gets the run. Here he goes. Yes, he got second.
Boy, he went by him like he was parked, and that's because Pirot was. He lifted big time when he ran up on that BMW, and Brabham timed that beautifully.
The timing was perfect to take advantage of traffic. Now, Pirot, we think, has a car a little bit faster than Brabham's, so it's not going to take long to close back up again on him. But that was a golden opportunity, and Brabham pounced.
Brabham's not going to waste that opportunity at all. Anytime you can get in front of these Audis, you're going to take a shot at it. And, of course, we were talking about just how well these Audis seem to be handling the bumps, Calvin, and they're doing it here again at Sears Point.
They are. We saw that at Sebring, Greg, and over the course of this weekend, we've seen Reinhold Jost not sitting in the pits planning strategy, but actually out on the course, watching the cars in the corners, and he really gave it the thumbs up. He really thinks they got the suspension, the shock set up just right for here, and it's certainly showing the way McNish has really streaked away today.
I would suspect they took a lot of what they learned at Sebring and were able to apply it here as well.
He's caught again behind the traffic. Again, he has to back off and loses more time to Brabham.
Now, one of the things here in traffic, too, and maybe you could talk about this a little bit, Derek, is the Audis, they're V8s, but they're turbos. And they don't have quite that automatic on-power switch that the Panoz do with those big torquey V8s, so they can, in theory, work traffic more effectively, can't they?
Yes, and in theory, the Audi were not supposed to be fast here. Oh, now the advantage goes to Pirot because Brabham gets stuck.
3 abreast through turn 9, up into 10. And Pirot tiptoes around the inside of the Viper.
Boy, this Panoz car, when you look at it, such an unusual look. Talk about trailblazers trying to win this championship, trying to be the trendsetters in sports car racing with an engine in the front. That's it. Don Panoz does a lot of things that people say he can't do. So he's trying to prove a point again here with the engine in the front of this car. It looks unusual, but it does go fast.
And once again, Brabham gets a break in traffic. Pirot gets stuffed, loses a little bit more ground. So the order's changed. Still McNish, but now it's Brabham, Pirot, and in 10th overall, the lead GTS Viper. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Sears Point in the American Le Mans Grand Prix of Sonoma. If you're just joining us, I'm Greg Kramer along with Derek Daly, Calvin Fish, Steve Evans down in the pits. And there's the #1 Panoz of David Brabham, and it has just made its pit stop. Just before that, the leader, Alan McNish, pitted, stayed on board. So there's your double stint for the driver. And they're going to double stint the tires. They did no tire change. So now Emanuele Pirot is in the lead.
Yes, he is, but David Brabham could not stay in the car. They put Magnussen into that car, so that gives you an idea of the physical effort to drive that thing. The Panoz drivers could not double stint.
On board now with Boris Said, and he is all over the back of the leader in GT. That's the Dick Barber car right in front. And they are working some lap traffic in their class. And now joining the mix is the overall race leader, Emanuele Pirot, right there. Just got by. Now going to dive down the inside of Dirk Mueller in the #5 Barber Porsche. And that expands that gap out just a little bit. But once again, those two GT cars running that close as they have been, Derek, for the better part of this first hour of this race.
Oh, how good is this here? I mean, this is as good as it gets in the GT class here. Porsche versus BMW, and there is not more than a car length that separates these two boys.
That's through turn 7 now, starting to bend up and onto those long S's, the famous, or to some infamous S's here at Sears Point. We're on board with Boris Said, and he's trying to work something here, hoping that car up front, that I believe is one of Alex Jogues' machines. And the number 2 Panoz is in, and a driver change there as well. Johnny O'Connell is getting out. That means Hiroki Kato should be on board.
Now the Panoz drivers cannot double stint, and that will be a disadvantage here, I'm sure.
They are keeping the tires. They're not doing tires.
Look, yeah.
And okay, they were able to refire. It's important to point out the rules require when you, as the leader is in, 78, Emanuele Pirot brings the lead Audi in, Steve.
Just topping it out, got a double stint, but apparently so is Pirot. Frank Biella is suited up and ready, but gets a wave off. Now you saw there were no tires going on the 77 car. We'll see about number 78. Apparently, we call these softer tires, but they're holding up very, very well under the hottest conditions we've had so far. Now, bear in mind, you can change drivers when you're fueling the car, so it doesn't cost you much time. You can't do anything else. You can't even touch it, or you'll incur a penalty. In fact, there's so many penalties assessed in these pits. If the fuelers don't have their visors down, there's so many ways you can get hurt by sloppy pit work.
All right, the car has utilized 90 liters of fuel is what they run. And keep in mind, that's what I was going to point out right before the stop. When you're refueling, you have to stall the engine. You have to kill the engine. And so that's one of the real concerns is you never know when you hit that start button with the heat that these engines generate, could be some serious problems in the car. Now, obviously, we're talking about the struggles in the Panoz cars, and they are doing driver's changes. And I understand the driver, the number 1, is with Calvin.
Well, David Brabham is in. He's looking a little cooler now, David. A tough stint for you. You really put the pressure on Pirot, took second place. You were hoping you could double stint the tires, but you decided not to.
No, I think this stage of the race, there was a little bit lack of grip, and I think it'd be better to have the tires at the end of the race than at the beginning. So, you know, the car was running pretty good. Michelin tires were pretty good. I just thought the strategy would be better the other way. And I just wanted to keep the pressure on Pirot the whole time. I was just attacking the whole time, cutting through traffic, taking quite a few risks to stay with him. Then he got caught up in traffic and got past him, which was great, but you know, still a long way to go.
You guys don't have the luxury of power steering, David. Is it physically possible for you guys to run that pace and double stint as a driver?
Well, that's why I'm out of the car.
All right, man, enough said. Good job anyway. We'll see you back in the car in a short while.
Thanks.
Calvin, that was a great question and a great answer. These are very difficult cars to drive, but that was a mighty stint by David Brabham to hound him for the whole stint long and finally get that second place. But to re-establish the lead, because McNish came in first, by the time the shuffle was all done, said and done, McNish is now still 54 seconds ahead, it looks like, over Pirot, his teammate.
We're taking a look at some of the telemetry. You can see the speeds building, 160, 161 through the S's, and then he had to get out of it a little bit to get around that lap traffic. Picks it right back up, 140. Then it's going to be hard braking down into the chicane here as they turn in. Now, yes, he works his way out. We understand now that the number 43 of Oberlin, which had moved up to 3rd, is in the pits, Cal.
Billy Oberlin jumps out. He's turned it over to Jean-Marc Guinan. And these guys have really struggled for grip. Bill Oberlin was looking forward to coming to his home track, and it really hasn't worked out very effectively yet. But the BMWs struggled in qualifying at several other races this year. They've come good in the race, but today it doesn't look like it's going to happen for them.
Well, Calvin, that's another car that was designed last year on the run-up for Le Mans, which they were able to win, for those high-speed tracks and to not have quite as much natural grip built into the cars. They wanted to be slippery in the air. They were able to win Sebring. They went on to win Le Mans. But again, these tracks just really don't favor this type of car.
And remember what we said at the top of the show. The Audi is the easiest car to drive, the fastest, got power steering, and sure enough, they're the 2 leading drivers who do not do a driver change. That is consistency and raw speed.
And one of the things about the BMWs we touched on is fuel economy. Oberlin had it up to 3rd, Calvin, before he had to bring it in.
Up to 3rd there with the fuel economy, but it looks like it's a bit of a struggle for you guys this weekend. Lack of grip.
Yeah, we're lacking grip. We're just trying to bring it home with a reasonable finish. Do all we can do to keep it in one piece. It's in Sean Martin's hands now. He gets to go. The car was good, but it just lacks grip. The balance is there. And Stefan Johansson was ahead of me. He takes so much air off your car, makes it very hard to pass. But we got the reliability of the the Michelin tire and the awesome crew. We'll just go with it.
This racetrack is awful tough with traffic, Bill. How was it out there as a driver?
Well, you know, last year I was like cautious, and now I'm just bombing it in through the traffic, because if you don't, you just lose. So it's tough, but a lot of the people see what's going on and they make a little bit of room for you.
Okay, nice run, mate.
Thanks.
Well, for Jean-Marc Gounon, he finds himself now in the 6th spot, but he's got pressure behind him, Derek.
Yeah, Stefan did not have a good pit stop, did a change. Now Guy Smith is in the car, but BMW got ahead during that driver change and that pit stop.
And as a matter of fact, it is now the number 42 team car is up into the top 5, highest of the BMWs here, but Alan McNish back out front for Audi. Driver's eyes and a wink from Hans Stuck. You got to like that. There's the number 91 Viper from Team Arica. The car that was leading in the GTS division has made its stop, made a driver's change as well. So now Wedlinger is out and Olivier Beretta is behind the wheel of that car, which that team has been absolutely undefeated so far this season. Boy, they're depositing some debris on the track. There's a good look at David Donahue on board the now class leading number 92 Viper.
Yeah, David Donahue running in 10th place. Has been with his team now for many seasons. See him look in the mirror, little quick glance. Make sure that there's no traffic coming down your inside, particularly the faster P cars. Again, you get an idea of the way the driver gets jostled around despite the fact that he's strapped in tightly in those seat belts. Look at him, look at the left mirror, right mirror. Boy, you got to be aware of what's behind you and beside you at all times here.
And Donahue actually points by right there, one of the P cars, no doubt. And of course, David Donahue, the son of one of the legendary names in racing, Mark Donahue, who had a book out many years ago that has become one of the more popular books, but it's been out of print in years. Thanks to David Donahue, though, his son, that might just change.
Browsing through the Wine Country Motorsports Gallery here at Sears Point, look what I found. One of my favorite reads ever. The Unfair Advantage by Mark Donahue, written back in 1974. Price of the book now, $450. But thanks to David Donahue, a whole new generation can enjoy your father's words. You're republishing this book.
Yes, several years back, Robert Bentley Publishers approached us with the excitement that they wanted to do this project. And after the last year or so, we've gotten off the couch, and hopefully it'll be done in the next couple of days here, and by September it'll be in the public's hands.
But new photos that were never in the original.
Yes, we're putting in a photo well so we can add to the book. The original photographs were very poor quality because the technology of the day, they weren't able to make nice color prints. So we're doing a photo well so as we don't really alter the integrity of the original book.
Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much.
I'll tell you what, David Donahue's making a bit of a name for himself as well. He's not just Mark's son anymore. He is a top-flight international driver. And look at him flailing on the wheel there as he's working through some of the sections of the track. Big V10 engine in this car, and on a track like this, that's a huge recipe for wheel spin.
There's the Viper. Stays out of the way of the P cars. You just have to do that. You don't have any choice here. You just get yourself in trouble.
Now these cars as well run the same fuel allotment as the P cars, and so we would suspect that David should be pitting fairly soon. If they do a driver's change, he'll turn over to Tommy Archer. Now this is one of those scenarios as well. It's warm out there, Derek. We already saw the lead Viper do a driver's change. Temperature inside the cockpit of these cars might dictate that they want to get a fresh driver in as often as possible.
These cars are very warm. They definitely are very, very hot inside. With these front engine cars, we saw, if you remember back to our coverage of the Le Mans 24-hour race, although it wasn't the Viper, it was the Corvette, when Justin Bell collapsed in full view of our cameras as we see David Donahue. Look, he undoes the belts. You see him undoing the belts as he comes down the pit lane to make the change just that little bit faster. See the way they're loosen the belts. Look, now he undoes the lap strap before he actually stops the car.
Now they also have to undo the radio. Let's go down to Calvin.
He turns it over to Tommy Archer, so it's an all-American team here as they try and chase down the number 91 machine. Been running in pretty close proximity out on the racetrack. The other car did do a tire change, so we expect the same thing here. They don't have much competition, so really, even if they don't need it for performance, they're probably just doing it, make sure they don't have any cut tires or whatever. We anticipate once the fuel is in the car, the mechanics will then go to work and change all 4 Michelins. There's only 2 guns allowed, so there's a gun on each side of the car. They'll do the rear tires first, and then they'll go forward to the front. The fueling has been complete. Now the mechanics go to work.
And now you see the problem that the P cars have when the Audis don't change tires. All the time it takes to put a new set of tires on is what Audi is able to save in addition to being the fastest cars. And how can you not be successful when you have everything going your way like that?
Well, I wonder, though, if going with a tire change first time out, the engineers could look at them and at that point say, we don't need to change on that second stop. We could double stint now right to the end. Maybe, obviously, things will reverse a little bit. You'd think the Audis are going to have to change, at least at the second stop. Triple stinting the tires, that would be something unheard of. But then you can look at 5-minute gearbox changes.
For Audi? Remember Le Mans?
Very good point. Back on board, and now it's Tommy Archer giving you this incredible view right on the deck here at Sears Point. Back in the lead, the number 91 machine. Following the doubleheader at Mid-Ohio, the next stop on the AMA Superbike schedule is coming up next week from Brainerd International Raceway in Minnesota. Nicky Hayden and Matt Laden continue their championship battle in Brainerd Saturday, July 30th at 3 p.m. live on Speed Vision. If you're into bike racing, you're going to be on board and watching from Brainerd, Minnesota. We're on board right now with Boris Sett, and he is now, Derek, applying unbelievable pressure on Dirk Mueller up front in that GT leading number 5 car. Now here comes, I think that's Hiroki Kato, who is going to sweep through and mess things up a little bit. But on a clear track now, Boris is able to run down and pressure the number 5 Barber Porsche.
And he has been all over the back of that 911. Boris Sett is just doing yeoman service here with this BMW. But this has been the fight all afternoon. This is where the real competitive race is here between BMW and Porsche. This may be settled in the pit lane if Boris Sett can't squeak away past.
There's a good look at Boris, and I asked Boris once, I said, what's a good season for you? And he said, driving 365 days a year. And he drives anything and everything he drives, he's unbelievably adept and quick in. Now he's got one of the BMW's prototypes that's coming up serious speed. Actually, that's Dorsey Schrader now on board the number 38.
There's our Dorsey. Dorsey Schrader takes over from James Weaver. Glorified test session, broke a tooth during practice, or during practice, clenched his teeth so hard and went over a severe bump and broke his tooth.
This track definitely bumpy. Now he swings low, gets down and underneath, and I think Boris Sett there was another car up in front of that Barber Porsche, and Boris had a run on him, and then Dorsey came steaming up through everybody and kind of messed things up. And that's one of the things too, isn't it? The traffic doesn't necessarily come from traffic slowing you down as you catch it. For the cars in GT, the traffic can slow you down from being overtaken by some of the faster cars. Dorsey gets hung up by the remaining number 67 Racer Group Porsche in GT, and now you can see some of the loads. Near a G, working through some of the corners. Here's turn 10, and this is so fast and such intense speed. And he gets through there with about 1.5 G. Now watch for the braking loads on the right side right there. I mean, it is heavy braking into turn 11.
And the key to what we see here in our telemetry brought to us by Smart Tire is his top speed was 133 miles an hour. Earlier we saw the Audi do 160 miles an hour into that turn 11 hairpin.
Watch those lateral G's again, almost 2 G's up into turn 2 right now. Cresting the hill, everything goes light, back on the throttle, and you think you've made your climb, not even close. Here's that next launch to the very top of the hill.
Great onboard camera stuff here.
Now here's a look at Jean-Marc Gounod, of course, took over from Bill Overland. He looks to be fighting that car terribly. He was all elbows just flying inside there, and he had a big moment coming out of the hairpin just a bit earlier, Derek.
This is turn 11, the end of the lap. Gets on the power here. Watch what happens. He's out of control right there, and away she goes. Around on a simple lazy spin, right in front of everybody. No harm done, didn't hit anybody, all on his own, all on his lonesome, but delays him about 5 or 6 seconds and makes him wary of that spot next time.
Oh, 3 abreast on the approach now up into turn 7. And one thing in that spin was he kept the tires rotating constantly, so I don't think he did any damage to the rears in terms of a flat spot. Took a few inches of rubber off maybe with lighting them up, but didn't flat spot him, and that's a very smart move. A lot of distance yet to go in his stint.
Remember our interview with Bill Arbelum. The car does not seem to have enough grip, therefore they made the tire change. And Bill even said it himself, they're just trying to bring it home. They don't really believe they have a chance to win here. They're just trying to bring it home and salvage some points. Remember, they're leading the championship. Mueller at 105 points. Leto is only 2 points behind. Then the two Panoz drivers, Magnussen and Brabham, at 95 and 94 apiece. And then the two Audis at 87 and 85, Biela and Pirro. That's the top 6 in the championship. That may change today.
Well, you made that point. Both Arbelin and Leto, in talking to them, they said the car feels good. Balance isn't bad. It's comfortable in a way to drive. They said it doesn't have grip, but it doesn't have outright speed, and that's where they're struggling. He said it's just, we can't match anything. Car feels pretty decent to drive, although Gunan driving at like 12 tenths right now is obviously really sawing at things.
And what's even more strange is their grid time here was slower than the speed they did last year on the grid. That's most amazing.
While Audi in the hands of McNish goes out and breaks the all-time track record here. So, yeah, that's got to be just frustrating in the extreme for drivers of that capability.
Right behind the battle here, that's Boris Said. Boris Said cannot move over very, very much now because he's embroiled in the fight with a Porsche.
Did he just stop? Boy, it looked for a minute like he just absolutely stopped to let that car go through, and it cost him some time.
Now Mueller's got to move over.
And he sweeps around Mueller, so Gunan has slipped through. And he's certainly not going to hold them up. But now look at, here comes Kato as he's coming up through, and that could actually affect, yes it does, the Barber car. Slowed him up on turn, and Boris Said now all over him.
It's actually Jan Magnussen who took over from David Brabham. Helmets very alike. Magnussen actually has a chrome design as opposed to the white on Kato's car. But now he is right behind the 43, and we know he is faster. We know he has the speed.
So does Gunan. See him point him through?
Wow.
He just said, go. I can't run with you right now. So that's an indicator. We saw it from Weaver. Now we see it even from the BMWs that they recognize they cannot run with the Audis and the Panoz right now. So problems. And Jean-Marc Gunan doing everything he can to just eke any bit of speed out of the car, that number 43 BMW. And so we watch him as he works down through the carousel. Gunan on to the front straight. And here's the onboard look from the spin that he had just a moment earlier here at Sears Point. Welcome back once again to Sears Point International Raceway, round 5 of the American Le Mans Series and the Grand Prix of Sonoma. You were just on board with Tommy Archer in that low spoiler cam, the splitter cam, if you will. And he just worked through that lead battle in the GT division. Right behind the Viper is the number 5 of Dirk Mueller, the Barber Porsche, and the number 7, that's the Prototype Technology Group BMW in the hands of Boris Said. And two distinctly different lines through the hairpin. A lot more of an arcing flow through the corner that Mueller's using, and Boris almost squares the corner, and I don't know that it really benefits either. It must be what the car is comfortable with right now.
Remember, Boris Said's teammate is Hans Stuck. Remember what happened last year here with Hans Stuck? And he is dynamite in these BMW M3s. So Boris Said knows that he's going to turn over to Hans Stuck. And they may just make one fuel stop. There may be only one pit stop here for these GT cars.
Well, right now, Boris has taken up where he left off earlier when those other cars came lapping through, as he continues to apply immense pressure here. And he continually shows his nose right there to the inside, going down into that carousel. And he's trying to tuck inside this time. He got to run this time. And, well, I don't know. I think the Porsche a little bit more grunt right there. Boris shows the nose to the inside again, but he's just too far back at that section here. But now he gets out of turn 7, and through these sweeps, Boris has been able to really hustle that BMW, and he gets through turn 10 very well. He's actually taken a run a couple of times at Mueller going in, and we've watched into turn 11, and we watched Mueller actually move to the middle of the track to defend. Although this time Mueller looks like he's got a pretty clean run through there. Here's turn 10, and Boris, not quite quick enough.
And I don't think there's any marks on that Porsche from that BMW, not even a little lug tap down in the hairpins. So they have played this absolutely clean. But a measure of how hard they're driving is you can see the Porsche get on opposite lock almost in all these low-speed corners. So this is a fight also for the number 5 car of Mueller.
So that battle certainly continues in the GT division, and we watch Boris said a little different line. He closes up there, other sections of the track. There's the stretch. Meanwhile, up at the front of the pack, there is your leader, still Alan McNish, doing the double stint here, trying to get around Dorsey Schrader. Alan leading and has a rather comfortable lead over teammate now. That's still Emanuele Pirot in the red tinted, if you will, number 78 Audi. Then it's Magnussen, then Kato, and then Mueller. But Alan McNish continues to put together a great year. For the Audi this season, if you look at the American Le Mans Championship, has really been distinctly too different. They started with the new R8, as they call it, and ended up with a 1-2 sweep at Sebring. Very high speed, but bumpy. Surprised a lot of people with that performance. Then for the next few races, as they celebrate here in the victory circle at Sebring with a great run, the next few races they brought back last year's R8R. They had a big moment with one of the BMWs at Charlotte, and as a matter of fact, ran a foul there trying to tuck underneath, and the hood came off big time on Ronaldo Capelli. At Silverstone, still with last year's R8R problems, and this would be the last appearance for that car, and big problems there as BMW went to the win. However, Le Mans, their focus, this is it right here, the moment that may have redefined sports car racing, a sub 5-minute gearbox change, and they did it to 2 of the 3 cars, got a 1-2-3 sweep at Le Mans. The new R8 showed up at the Nürburgring, but wet weather spoiled everything for them with some off-course excursions like this, like the one we just saw, and then an immense one when McNish went airborne. So now they show up here at Sears Point, a track, as we've documented, they didn't expect to do well, and they have been doing brilliantly. And Steve Evans, though, second place in GT is in.
Absolutely. We wondered at the top of the show if the BMW could match fuel mileage with Porsche, and apparently not. This is, Boris said, coming out of the car, Hans Stuck going in. It takes a while to change drivers here because of their size. I mean, I'm 6'2", and look up to both of these guys. So the Bavarian battler, Hans Stuck, goes in the Yokohama tire BMW M3. There's tires standing by. I believe they're going to go on, but as we've explained before, fueling has to be complete before anything mechanical can happen. If you're a driver, that's it. And it's painfully slow. These things hold just under 100 liters of fuel, 99 to be exact. It takes a while. It's gravity-fed high. Now, the disconnected, the car goes up. The car will get new rubber on all 4 corners, and send Hans Stuck out to try to chase down those Porsches. But I'll tell you what, a huge advantage now for the Porsche as they're still out there as the BMW gets fuel. Not good.
Interesting how they go about the changes. They loosen up a lug, then go to the front wheel on that side while somebody else changes it up. They only are allowed 2 guns, and everybody seems to have their own theory on how it works. Now, as we watch that car leave pit lane, Hans Stuck on board.
Wow, the right rear man barely got his fingers off the safety clip on that lug before he pulled out on the number 5, who was embroiled in the battle now. Almost rubs door handles with a 91 Viper. But let me set the scenario here now. The number 5 car is not pitted. If the BMW only has to pit 1 time, the number 5 should be on or about the same position on the track. Then we have a German battle between Lukas Luhr, who's going to take over the number 5, against Hans Stuck in the BMW. And that's a scary thought for Lukas Luhr.
My concern, though, from the BMW camp would be if they know they've got to make 2 stops and they are pushing for everything that they can, if the Porsche can make it on 1 and those guys are driving just quick enough to be able to save fuel to make it, that could be a backbreaker for BMW. We might get the answer now as Steve has found the driver who just got out of that number 7 machine. Steve?
Team owner Tom Miller came over and gave Boris a big pat on the back, and he doesn't even like race car drivers. You must be doing something right today on a very tough circuit.
Yeah, I mean, BMW has been working really hard on this new E46, and wait till the consumers see this car in the showroom in September. That's the ultimate drive machine, and on track with all these corners. Now we got Yokohama tires. We pretty much had them at the end, but we're just playing smart and following them for now, and we'll let Hans clean up. It's a big day for the team. Everyone at Yokohama, Flextronics, pretty happy tonight. It's fun.
Up on the golf course.
All right.
That's Boris's second love.
I think
Where does he find time?
I think he got everybody mentioned,
I
didn't
think he got them all.
Yeah.
Here comes the leader in the GT division, though, as Dirk Mueller brings that Barber Porsche down into the pits and makes the turn.
This is a tire battle also. Yokohama tires on the BMW, Michelin tires on the Porsche. Calvin, you're there?
Derek, Dirk Mueller brings the car in. He's going to turn it over to Lucas Luhr. The Barber team goes to work. This team is undefeated in ALMS competition this year. Both sister cars taking a pair of wins apiece, and the team goes to work. The fuel is going into the front end of the Porsche as the fuel cell in the front end of the car. Obviously a rear engine or mid-engine car. The team wait. Driver change looks like it's routine at the moment, and they're just waiting for that vent hose to just gurgle, make sure that it's full. They're going to need every ounce of fuel that they can get into this thing. They're past the halfway mark, so they're certainly safe on fuel. We believe the BMW is as well, so this should be a great battle. If this pit stop is routine, we expect the 5 car to be out there right up against Hans Stuck. It should be a great battle to the checkered flag.
Oh, what a position for Lucas Luhr, the young driver, going up against somebody that he probably considers to be an absolute hero.
And we're going to watch where the BMW is, because it's now on the back of the circuit, about to set up to go down through the fast S's. We're going to follow him and see exactly where these two boys come out on the racetrack after these 2 pit stops.
Cars down off the jacks. There goes Lucas Luhr heading out. There's the face cam as he brings that number 5 Barber Porsche back on track.
And he hopes they're ahead of the BM. Right now he hopes they've made it in the pits, because they keep the lead in the pits. And BMW obviously hope for the opposite.
Watch for it here as he brings the car out. We still have not seen the BMW. The number 21 Porsche, by the way, Shane Lewis, doing a brilliant job in the Aspen Knolls entry, was second at the time of the number 5 stop, may have slipped momentarily into the lead.
There
is your number 7, and that is Hans Stuck. And Stucky now is in full attack mode here as we continue past the halfway point at the American Le Mans Grand Prix of Sonoma here at Sears Point.
The American Le Mans Grand Prix of Sonoma is brought to you by Porsche, who wish to remind you there is no substitute.
At Sears Point, and here it is, and that's Hans Stuck, and that is the number 5 of Lucas Luhr. And Stuck tried the outside. Now he's going to look inside, trying to get around the Viper. He's got the lap car, one of the cranium machines, right in front as well. And boy, gets a little bit of a breather there for Lucas Luhr, but it took Stuck no time at all to catch that car. But of course, Stuck had 1 lap of warmer tires,
he did.
and he made the most of it.
That is an advantage, a definite advantage, but this Porsche has held off the BMW for more than half the race. It has been a mighty struggle.
And they're Stuck now, coming up into turn 10 around the outside, finally gets by that lap car. But you can see already the margin that Luhr has opened up. Here comes a brace of prototypes. That's going to affect things a little bit as well. But right now, after a tremendous opening stint, especially in terms of pressure, Dirk Mueller is with Calvin.
Dirk, a great opening stint, but Boris was really putting the pressure on, and now it looks like your team is going to have to go up against Stucky out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you can see I just got out of the sauna. It got so hot inside the car, and I tried to be gentle in the beginning to save our tires a bit, and even with that, I pulled away. But then with the traffic, Boris came closer and closer, and actually I really, really thank him, because he got several chances to hit me, and to be unfair, but he was so fair. Really, really appreciate this. It was fun being outside, and I've never had our 25 minutes fight. This was my first time, and I'm really happy that I got it. But now we have 1 hour and 20 minutes left, so
it's not a clean battle, but you're running on almost qualifying times. 1:37s, you qualified at 36. You're really flat out.
Oh, yeah, man. I couldn't have done any any quicker laps, and I nearly was at the edge at every turn. I nearly lost my car everywhere, so thanks for the mechanics. They really bring me or gave me a good car.
This whole team, guys, are going to be biting their nails, see if they can score their 5th victory of the season here today at Sears Point.
So a great run here for Dick Barber's team. Remember, this is the Porsche Junior team. They take young drivers, they put Bob Wallach in to guide them along the way, but basically they're developing some of the young German drivers to be the potential stars of the future.
And all of that traffic, including, as I was talking about, the prototypes coming and getting in the mix, have now given that number 5 Barber Porsche a big margin over Hans Stuck. That margin has expanded out because Stuck's momentum got just rattled with some of the prototypes knifing past. Now he's got to get his head down again and go after it, and he still has that lap Porsche that he's got to get by right there. That's the Westward Ho Casinos number 30 entry, and he's also obviously hoping that that Viper up front that's taking a run right now, young Lucas Luhr, and trying to put him a lap down, that Viper will mess up the momentum of the number 5 machine. Now let's go back down to the pits. Problems for the Aspen Knolls entry, Steve.
Oh, and it's a shame. Shane Lewis brought it in. He'd worked his way up to like 3rd place at one point in the contest, and now the car is back in, and they've got a problem with the left rear wheel, as you can see. Left rear. And apparently the wheel nut is either stripped. They had a problem getting it off. Now they're having a problem reinstalling yet another wheel and tire. So apparently a tire was out of balance, something like that. They brought the car back in, and then this disaster happened, and they were just plummeting in the class.
It is a shame, Steve. 2 consecutive podiums for this team in the European track at Silverstone and at the Nürburgring.
And now as Kurt Wagner brings the car on track, he's got to be a little nervous sometimes when that wheel nut has a problem. You're tentative for a few laps till you're confident that that wheel's not going to suddenly leave the car and come skating past you. Up front, no such worries, as Alan McNish, about midway, I would suspect, through his 2nd stint, has a lap by himself right now on the field. As soon as he comes up right there, you can see Emmanuel Pirot, and once McNish catches and goes by him, he will have basically put a lap on the field. Pirot still 2nd. This, folks, is an absolutely dominant performance, not only by Audi, but by McNish. And we haven't really given him enough credit. We've talked about the Audi package. McNish, up against the likes of Emmanuel Pirot, was a ½ second faster than anybody else. That was all McNish.
Regarded by many as possibly the best sports car driver in the world right now. Not only does he have sheer outright speed, he has technical ability, he has great experience, and word on the street is that he may be part of the Toyota Formula 1 effort that will come on song, testing next year and then racing in 2002. Of course, Formula 1 was the ultimate goal for Alan McNish, but his career got sidelined with a huge Formula 3000 crash in Donington when a spectator got killed, and then he ended up going into sports car racing.
And has been absolutely brilliant. He, in fact, does have a testing contract with Toyota. And, of course, as you pointed out, he is hoping more than anything that that turns into a full-time ride in Formula 1. He leads here at Sonoma. A good look at some of the scenery in downtown Sonoma. That is a historic theater in the background. A small town, but one that has a lot of fame, of course, to go with it. Right in the heart of wine country in the Sonoma Valley, some of the finest wines, certainly in North America, and now building a reputation internationally as the home of some exceptional wines. Up front, Alan McNish, as we return to the action on track here at the Grand Prix of Sonoma, continues to lead and is doing so very, very comfortably. He's now dropping at about, he's been running consistent 125s, 124s, Calvin, and obviously he's in the middle of a 2nd stint. What's happening in terms of strategy for the rest of the day?
Well, he has a massive lead, Greg, but he was the first of the front runners to pit, and on my watch, it was about 51, 52 minutes in. Now, the magic mark today was 55 minutes. That meant you could do it on 3 loads of fuel, 2 stops only. So we're going to take a careful look at the watch when he comes in this time and see if he's going to be about 5 minutes short on fuel, which will really necessitate a 3rd stop for a splash towards the end of this one.
Calvin, is that possibly why we're seeing him run 1 to 2 seconds faster than almost anybody else on the track? Is that something that he's got in the back of his head, maybe a strategy that he can't make it on 2? go hard, build your margin so you can make that splash and keep the lead?
Well, there could always be a caution, Greg. That may be a factor, but yes, he may be trying to build a big enough margin where it will afford, he'll be turning it over to Capello, and he may need to come in and make that third stop. And right now they're about to lap their second place car, so they have a massive lead, but certainly on the mind of the Audi Yost team at the moment. They got the calculators out and the computers working overtime as we speak.
Wow, that would be that would be a turn up for the books. But you know what? Even if he made a splash at this stage, he's going to be okay with that almost lap lead.
Yeah, the last thing he wants is he comes up now to put that lap on Pirro. The last thing he'd want to see is a yellow of any sort. And there's a big bump there that they're avoiding.
Exactly. Well worth mentioning. It's on the left side of the track as you go into the braking zone. It is so severe that most of the drivers elect to just go right around the outside of it in that braking zone.
Another big bump right coming up the hill right about there. If you're center of the track, you hit it, and I mean, it clubs you. In one of the practice sessions, McNish almost lost the back of the car going over it. The very next lap, he went inside of it. The next lap, he went outside of it. He liked the outside line. That's what he's been running ever since.
And these cars have just looked good every single session. Just every session. And the PR machine rolled out here before they ever start to run and said, you know, this would not suit us because of the low-speed corners. We've got a turbocharged engine. Everything that was supposed to be working against them suddenly didn't. And they're fast, and they're easily fast. You see the mirror? You see the mirror?
Oh,
you can see McNish coming down the inside of the mirror, almost putting the lap on. Look at, he looks in the mirror. Pirro looks in the mirror, watches what's going on here.
Well, he doesn't want to do anything that's going to take out he and or McNish.
What's the mirror?
I would have thought.
There it is. There it is.
Oh, and we've got a lot developing, we understand. That's number 2, Kato. And that was 4th place at the time. And the number 91 Viper has struggled as well. It's been off track, just now coming back on. So suddenly that's the car that was leading in GTS. There's Kato, and everything's running. He's just something not right. He cannot get going.
Yeah, there's the telltale marks.
Agricultural there, huh?
Yeah. Sonoma straw stuck in the front bumper of that car. Kato not impressed here. I can only think that these boys definitely hit each other.
Let's go back and see if we can find out what happened. Watch for it right here.
Coming over the top.
Oh, he just ran wide at a humongous clip.
So Kato appears to have done that all by himself and sent the Viper off the racetrack in avoidance.
And apparently what the problem there is the damage to that right rear corner. Looks like the suspension broke. Here now is the Viper off track into the tires.
Innocent bystander, Beretta and Wendlinger. Wendlinger at the wheel in the number 91 car. Will he be forced to stop? He's got damage, but you know what? It doesn't look as if there's substantial damage. But Kato got himself in all sorts of trouble, and Johnny O'Connell, who of course worked here as a driving instructor for many years, knows the track very well, loses all hope of a good result here. Now the BMW of Bill Oberlin, well, our JJ Leto and Oberlin, BMW's 4th and 5th will now become 3rd and 4th.
Well, the Viper, a very sturdy car, and we can see that right now Beretta just continues on, hay flying and all, a little bit of damage to the right front, but all in all, pretty sturdy. There's the damage as Kato looks it over. That left rear, or the left rear corner in that car is broken, no question. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to this 5th round of the Grand Prix of Sonoma for the American Le Mans Series. And Alan McNish is now, Derek, a lap up on the field. And we're going to go back and take a look at how he did it. And that plays into that strategy beautifully.
And this is a great demonstration, again, of Audi technology at its very best. And in fact, Pirro moves over, makes it easy for him. But it's hard to believe that Alan McNish and a team this talented with drivers that are so equal on a general basis is able to lap the 2nd place car, which is his teammate. What a demonstration by McNish and by this Audi team.
I really think that McNish is in the zone right now.
He's in the zone, exactly.
It's unbelievable. And he said after qualifying, when he set that lap that broke the all-time track record here and was a half-second clear of the field, when they interviewed him, they asked him about it, and he said, if anybody can do better than that, they deserve pole, because he said, frankly, I am awfully proud of what I did out there. And I think he knows that he is just absolutely dialed, Derek.
He is. He's done 73 laps. And as good as he's done up until now, it means absolutely zippo, because he has almost an hour to go yet. And still in this traffic jam and embroiled in the race as he is, you still have to be super, super careful. Somebody else kicking up dust off the road.
Yeah, that's the John Field car, and I don't know if it's Field or if it's Sutherland on board right now. And McNish obviously coming up, seeing that car running a little wide, is going to be a little bit careful and try and get by. Yep, smart place to do it through turn 9. And here's the battle again. That's the number 5 car, and it's coming up on slower traffic. And one of those is the team car. That maroon BMW is the team car to Stuck. Right there is Hans Stuck in the BMW, and he dropped quite a bit back, and now he's coming back up again. And number 6, that's Johannes van Overbeek. He is not necessarily going to make things all that easy here. As a matter of fact, he's in his own race, and that's going to bottle up Lucas Luhr.
And Lucas Luhr has done a good job here to stay ahead of Hans Stuck. In fact, he pulled away. Is that the Aspen Knowles car? Yep. Right ahead of them. We saw them. That Kurt Wagner behind the wheel had that wheel problem. They are in... they're in the same class. I'm sure he's going to move. Maybe he won't.
This is going to be interesting here, and let's watch for it. Oh, I see a yellow flag there as well. That's where Kato's off, so you cannot pass in this area of track, and that's why. There's the wrecker hauling Kato's car off track.
Look at this. Look at this. Braking zone for turn 11. Lucas Luhr is on oversteer when he exits these corners, and Hans Stuck is coming down the inside, and the leader is in the middle of the mix.
And right when Stuck thought, maybe I've got the run here, I can do something with it, the prototypes come whistling up through and disrupt everybody's rhythm. Like I said, it's not just the prototypes getting slowed by slower traffic. They can affect battles for the GT category as well. We've seen it again.
And
look, Stuck was all over him there.
And now the GTS car is in the middle of it. The number 92 car, I believe, that is also in the middle of the mix.
That's the 91, actually, the car that had the off in the hands now of Olivier Beretta, running second in that category. Due to that off now, it is the Tommy Archer team car, number 92 up front. Finally now, the number 7 of Stuck, the Prototype Technology Group, the Yokohama BMW, gets underneath the Aspen Knowles entry, then gets swarmed by Puro in the second place Audi. But look at, again, the margin he has lost after making that all up to Lucas Luhr.
Yeah, and Boris Said is in the pit lane watching what goes on here. He had a great stint at the start in his number 7 BMW and got out and said he's now going to leave it to Stuck to clean up. Well, he's got a job on his hands here to catch Lucas Luhr first and then to try and pass him.
Good look there at Hans Stuck inside the cockpit, the blue helmet with the white stars. And he is, well, he's made that up again pretty quickly, hasn't he? He's just kind of stayed right with the Viper, and they're running down that number 5 Barber Porsche.
The Dick Barber Porsche has been incredibly successful. They've won all the GT classes in the American Le Mans Series so far. They initially won their class at the Le Mans 24-hour race, and then, unfortunately, they were disqualified for a discrepancy in the fuel tank. That was a genuine oversight, but that was a major blow to Dick Barber himself.
Testament to the professionalism of that team, Derek, as they rebounded with their 4th straight class win in the American Le Mans Series at the European race at the Nürburgring. This team does not give up easily. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Sears Point Raceway, and the race leader, Alan McNish, is the number 77 Audi N4 for what should be its final pit stop. That last stint by Alan was almost 60 minutes. This means that Ronaldo Capello should be able to go the rest of the way without a splash of fuel, which we are really thinking about. He gets a little tap on the head from Alan. Alan walks out. The driver change is complete. They're waiting for fuel, and then we anticipate they will definitely be changing cars. Remember, Alan double stinted the Michelins, and Ronaldo will now have a fresh set of rubber to go out and try and take it to the checkered flag. He has a massive gap over the rest of the field, so he should be able to take it easy. He does not have the track knowledge that Alan McNish has, but certainly he's got some pressure on him here today to try and score another victory for Yost. And Steve Evans, something else further down pit lane.
Absolutely. The Panoz is in a driver change, fueling the car. Remains to be seen if they'll get tires. It appears that they will. They just about have to. They've double stinted this rubber. Yep, the car goes up. It gets 4 new Michelins. And it appears that on fuel economy, based on timing of pit stops, that the Audis, the BMWs, and the Panoz are all pretty much similar. I mean, they're coming in within a lap or 2 of each other.
All right, and obviously the little bit of a problem there for that left or the right rear tire changer is he had to get around the fuel. Man, he was able to do so, but it cost him just a little bit of time. However, now Brabham is back and underway, and now down in the pit comes Emanuele Pirro, and this is their final stop, obviously. He'll be turning over to Frank Biela, and that stop, we're going to watch. Indeed, there's the driver's change, and Biela will be taking over. We understand now that, Calvin, you've found Alan McNish.
I have. Alan, what a run by you. You almost put a lap on the field. The car was working perfectly, but traffic was a major factor out there.
Yeah, it was. I got caught in the first batch of traffic, but then after that, they all seemed to recognize I was coming, and they were generally very, very good. I think we were fortunate a little bit that there was no real full course yellow, because our main strategy was to be good on the tires. And towards the end of the stints, that's when we really came strong in comparison to the others.
The boys upstairs said you're somewhat in the zone. You really seem to be at home with this racetrack and the car this weekend.
Yeah, certainly. I want to try and do well this weekend, make up for the problems I had in Nürburgring, which weren't exactly perfect, and to try and get some points on the board.
All right, mate. Great run. Superb performance.
Thank you, Calvin.
An absolutely remarkable performance, and again, I don't think sometimes we give quite enough credit to Alan McNish and what he's been doing behind the wheel of these remarkable cars. And Derek, as we mentioned here, with Pirro making the stop, and here comes Capello, and if Capello on the warm tires gets by, there you go, the lap is back once again. But I was going to mention, Calvin mentioned that should be the last stop. They ought to be able to go to the end, because that second stint for McNish was almost a minute. On top of everything else we've talked about that's working for him, their weak link, but perhaps fuel economy, Audi now seems to have solved that problem as well.
And in fact, Audi is putting on a superb demonstration here. And of course, we welcome to our booth here a very special guest, a man who seems to join us when these cars do so well, the VP of Audi North America, Mr. Len Hunt. Len, you have another big smile on your face as you watch this demonstration here.
Because of the tight, twisty circuit, you know, the cars are more suited to the fast. The aerodynamics really come into play, and with the, you know, the V10s, the V12s, we really thought we were up against it, but the cars are just going absolutely magnificently. And Alan's just done one of the most remarkable stints I think I've ever seen him do, and the lap record, of course, for us as well. So yeah, it's great. It's really nice to see him, especially after the Nürburgring.
When you watch a race like this, Len, and there's so much traffic, I mean, are you on tenterhooks like we are when you think of what might happen?
This is the problem. Just one driver, maybe, just, you know, for no malicious reason, just doesn't see somebody coming through. The speed differences are so great coming into a corner, and you really are. You're thinking, oh my goodness me, because there's so much at stake with the championship now between ourselves, particularly with BMW, and really good old Don Panoz, you know, and did what he did in the Nürburgring to take that trophy away from the 2 big German contenders. With quite a feat.
Len, is this a weekend of enjoyment for you, or is it a work week? I mean, do you have a lot of people here that you entertain?
Absolutely, weekend of work, but it's always mixing work with pleasure. But yeah, we got all our dealers, we've got a lot of dealer council members, so it's a great weekend for them to come and see Audi in true dominant form. And yeah, they're all having a great time up on the hill there.
With your success at Le Mans, I mean, we asked you this before, does that mean you come back and do it again to stamp your authority on the event again?
I tell you, for me, the thing about this kind of series, this kind of racing, is the long term. You don't just come in and win Le Mans and go home. You've got to be at it. It's part of your market. It's part of what you are, and you just need to keep investing for the long term. So no final decisions yet, but you know, we're pushing as hard as we can.
Lan, thanks for taking the time to come and join us. I know we have a great time watching the Audi progress, the technology that you display in your cars on the racetrack. I know you're proud of it, brings a smile to your face, and it gives us tremendous enjoyment.
Thanks for the coverage,
Lan,
guys.
thank you.
Hey, well
Thanks.
done. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Len. And again, I think he will agree, too, that having a partner in the form of a guy named Reinhold Jost doesn't exactly do your program much harm. As Calvin alluded to, Jost out around the track, watching what these cars are doing, solving the problems.
The American Le Mans Grand Prix of Sonoma is brought to you by Audi, creators of the Blast to Drive A4 Trio, the dashing and daringly new A6, and the revolutionary all-aluminum A8.
If you haven't been able to find the news or all the news you'd like at the end of the weekend about what's happened, well, each Sunday night Speed Vision News Race Week is the place to get all of those results, highlights, and even analysis of the world of racing. Please join Bill Patrick and Bob Varsha Sunday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern and 8:30 p.m. Pacific. Speed Vision News Race Week, your one-stop shopping for the world at speed. Speed Vision News Race Week, Sunday nights, folks. There again is that battle, and we have been watching it in the GT division here. That is young Lucas Luhr, chased by one of the legends, let alone veteran, Hans Stuck in that number 7 BMW. And here comes Ronaldo Capello as he's working through that group here. That's the high-speed right-hand turn 10. Now the blast as he pulls out and around and heads down into turn 11, gets by those guys, but right behind him now is Frank Biela, and he's going to have to work through those GT cars as well. And again, that's what I'm talking about. They start to have their own battle in GT, and some of the prototypes come up, get in the mix, and make things interesting. Doesn't look like it's going to affect anybody too much this time. If Biela wedges through there, it might blunt a little bit the run that Lucas Luhr has up the hill, and we'll see if he does, as a matter of fact. Stuck now takes some pretty serious advantage and closed up. That really messed up Luhr's momentum. So Stuck is right there. And one thing I've been watching, and we'll keep an eye out here, as down into the hairpins, turn 7 and turn 11, it appears, as Luhr locks up the right front, he's definitely feeling the pressure. It looks as though Stuck will get a good run through the carousel section, Derek, and then take a run and then down into turn 7 in particular, where you'd think, well, here's his shot. It looks like that Porsche is just a little bit better on the brakes going in there, and that margin expands. But Stuck right now, boy, he wants this bad. And here's what I'm talking about. Has a good run, a little bit of a margin there. Now watch the braking in here. Right when they go to brake, you can see Stuck just can't get on the brakes as soon. And it looks as though Luhr just has the measure.
He is definitely good in that braking zone. Boris said an interesting thing in his interview, that the longer the stint ran, the better, I think he said, they become. Now, we saw Lucas Luhr pull away a little bit in the opening laps of this last stint, and now, as it goes on here, Stuckey, particularly through the slow twiddly bits, as Alan McNish calls them, seems to be able to close up. So, with the battle of the tire manufacturers here, Michelin and Hans Stuck, this will be fascinating from here to the end.
Well, and you're right. This team understands the tires. Their tires, they've raced here, been undefeated here for so long. That is something that might play well into their strategy. Now, one of the big events on one of these American Le Mans Series weekends is one of the support series. It's called the Women's Global GT category, and it's a spec series for some of the top lady racers in the world. And here's some of the highlights. There's the start. You can see pretty well subscribed, large field as they head up into the turn. Now here at number 6, Sarah Wall gets it a little bit wrong. Watch this. In the carousel, just does a little bit of a hill climb, nothing severe. Her day was done at that point, however. As the race unfolded, Cindy Lux, who's been a real force in this category, simply checked out. A huge, huge lead. Behind her, an immense battle, though. Second place at the time, Sonia Bayer, chased by Davina Galizia, another woman with a lot of wins in this category. Now watch this. 7 is Bayer. Runs wide there at the approach to 7. Car gets very squirrely right there. Big wiggle. Davina wastes no time, dives down to the inside. Davina Galizia takes over the second spot and manages to hold on. Lux taking the win. Davina Galizia in second. Sonia Bayer ended up in third. And Cindy Lux, that number 5, doing some celebrating once again. She is tremendously quick and has put together a lot of wins in this category. And there's your total unofficial results. Melinda Endres was 4th and Audrey Zadabowski in the top 5.
Good run there for Cindy. We watched the whole race here in the booth. Cindy Lux, great lead, just dominating that whole event. Women's Global GT, another one of the series that Don Panoz has put together here, a man who is changing the face of American sports car racing and maybe the world of sports car racing.
He certainly is putting his stamp on it. There is no question of that. So congrats to Cindy Lotz, Davina Galizia, and Sonia Bayer for their run to the podium in the Women's Global GT Championship. Had a look there at the number 43. That's the BMW V12. And that's the car currently now back with Oberlin behind the wheel as they turned over from Jean-Marc Gounod. Had a bit of a moment just a moment ago.
Have a look at this here. Again in traffic. He tries to go down the inside, realizes that the Porsche didn't see him, stands on the anchors. That was probably a little bit brave of our Bill Oberlin to try and make that move. He was coming from a long way behind, and he got away with no damage. But that car has already done 2 360s and got away with the 2 of them.
Bill Oberlin just trying to make up some ground here at Sears Point. We are back at Sears Point. There's your overall race leader, the number 77 Audi, now in the hands of Ronaldo Capello, taking over from Alan McNish. And Capello is absolutely a world-class driver. There is the second place car, a lap back. That's not that close, really. It's a lap back in the hands now of Frank Bila, the number 78 machine, as he continues to lap. What I was going to mention was Capello is a world-class driver, and he is lapping a full 2 seconds a lap off of what McNish was able to do on fresh tires.
And these boys have everything you need. Every mechanical object, every electrical object, every human object they need to make this team successful. In fact, let's go down to Steve, because I think he is in the middle of the Audi pit right now. Steve?
Well, apparently they've also got a whole lot of cash. The rumor for this program is rumored to be about $100 million, and here's probably a couple of 100,000 of it. This is what the driver's actually saying. Here's a control panel. You can see all the markings there, and if we swing the camera around over here, this is the actual dashboard. They've got these spares out here in case there's any kind of an electrical problem, a short, a circuit breaker, or whatever, but it's beginning to look more like flying an airplane than driving a car.
And of course, Greg mentioned it earlier, they raised the bar in sports car racing when he mentioned about what they did at Le Mans in under 4 minutes. Changed the complete back end on this car. So obviously they have more spares than any other team there for any eventuality that may arise to put these cars back into point scoring positions to take the maximum no matter what's thrown at them.
So if they can change a complete rear end and rear suspension assembly in less than 4 minutes, the dashboard ought to take, what, 5-10 seconds?
Yeah, maximum.
Jeez, and it's absolutely remarkable what Audi's done. And raise the bar is it. It's going to be interesting to see what field or what team is going to be able to make up that as well and really take a run and see if they can stay with the Audi program in terms of their the advances. It has been stunning what Audi has come up with here. Let's take a look at some of the telemetry from David Brabham's number 1 Panoz right now. Some of those lateral G's working through the S's here. This is turn 9. Long arcing left-hander, absolutely flat out. This is a gut check turn, boy. Very quick, maybe a dab at the brakes and then back onto the throttle. You can see a lot of spiking in those lateral G loads as the cars, I would suspect, skipping over the bumps there.
Yeah.
And hard on the brakes down into the hairpin.
The LMP1 Roadster, somebody's off. Oh, yes, look at this here, car number 66. In fact, it's taken 2 cars off.
That 66, he was parked. Hey, remember that car was off and was parked a long time ago. That car just did it all by itself and spun into the 66.
Kevin
machine.
Buckler's car, you're right. The electrical problems earlier on, parked it there, and now he's got sideswiped by the number 52 car, which is Tony Burgess and Stefano Buttiero from Torino, Italy. Wow, that may have done more damage than whatever went in that car earlier on.
That's the exit of the carousel, and you're carrying a lot of speed, and if the car gets away from you there and it does that hook spin, that's what happened. Let's go back. We only caught part of the end of what happened here, Derek. Let's watch for it. Yeah.
Oh, he just tapped Kevin's car. Just barely tapped it. Hit the tire barrier first and bounced back out of the tires. Lots of tires here. So the Sears Point.
Yeah, the damage to Buckler's car should be pretty well minimal. Oh, we've got a new leader in GT. Stuck in the midst of traffic. Oberlin right there has gone around Lucas Luhr, and Hans Stuck has taken the Yokohama BMW into the GT lead. Lucas Luhr there in that silver number 5 Barber Porsche, now in second. And Hans Stuck, that was his mission. That's what the team sent him out to do. And Stuck can be relentless when he needs to be.
By my watch, that one single pass has taken almost 2 hours and 20 minutes to accomplish. This has been a mighty, mighty GT class battle struggle here between BMW and Porsche. We've followed almost every move they've made, and Hans Stuck, who was sent out to clean up by Boris Said, manages to squeeze by. He may have had a bit of help from that traffic with Bill Orville, and we didn't quite catch the end of it, but Hans Stuck manages to squeeze by.
And here comes Capello once again, and we've seen this every few laps as we're watching this GT battle. That number 77 comes arcing through, and now it's Stuck locking up that right front corner. And look at that, Luhr did not want to let that car go through and get him way offline, because it was going to slow him up and cost him a lot of distance to the number 7 car. And so he fought for that position with everything he was worth. We're watching both of those GT leaders, that right front tire, as they drop into that turn 5 downhill corner, locking up that unloaded tire. They are definitely on the limit. But Hans Stuck in the GT division now into the top 10 as well. We are back at Sears Point International Raceway. Some great looks from the eyes of the camera folk that do such an incredible job at each of these events. You have to say, Speed Vision's crew of camera people, whether in the pits or out around the track, are second to none. The coverage they're providing, as always, awesome. And there was a little bit of artsiness from them, and we love to see it. There is the artsiness from the number 77 Audi team. Now Ronaldo Campello behind the wheel, and they are leading right now. Overall, there you see Vila in the second place Audi. Then it is Brabham back in the Panoz third. Then it is Leto, I believe, back now in the 42 BMW, and the BMW running in 5th as well, the team car. Donahue Archer, this is a great opportunity. First win for this duo over Wedlinger Beretta and then Rice Brown in the GTS Porsche. And in the GT category, as we said, Hans Stuck out front now of Lucas Luhr. Then it is Sasha Maassen, the number 51. That's a Barber Porsche. Then it is Peter Cunningham and Randy Post sitting now at 4th and 5th in the category right now.
And that has been a great battle that we've watched all afternoon long here. But that GTS battle is very interesting, with Wendlinger and Beretta trying to catch their teammates. And Calvin, I believe you're in the Chrysler pit.
Yes, I am, Derek. And things got turned around there, Olivier. What happened on course with you and the Panoz?
Oh, nothing special. He did a mistake in front of me. And he was completely opposite way. And I arrived after a jump. And I see him at the last moment, so I have to pull to the right. But no damage, it's okay.
Do you think that Carl can catch up to your sister car with, I believe David will get behind the wheel now. They're doing a pit stop currently.
We will try, but it's important that the 2 cars finish.
Okay, so you're just going to be consistent and try and take it home?
Yeah.
Okay, they have the championship lead. They may not build on it as much as they hope, but it looked like it should be a Viper day once again.
I'm not sure that they're going to want to run down and take away a lead from the 2 American drivers here back at home.
Yeah, but I tell you what, when you look at our replay again of that Viper running into that tire barrier, they were very, very fortunate that that tire barrier absorbed the energy and not do any damage to the front of that car. Because we're going to show you the replay again. I mean, he actually got well and truly buried into the tire wall. He has no hope of making the corner because he ran off the road to avoid Kato. And look at that, he plows. He must have gone into 5 or 6 rows of tires. Luckily, he kept the engine running, could reverse out and get on his way. I was surprised that he didn't bury the nose and damage it a lot more than he did.
The only remnant of that, if you look, is there's a piece of tape underneath that right headlight where there's a little crack in the fiberglass, and that one hood pin won't close completely. Otherwise, the splitter's fine, everything's fine. It's unbelievable here, and you have got to love the tires here that line this Sears Point track. Absolutely doing their job here. By the way, the number 92 class leading GTS Viper, David Donahue, now back behind the wheel. Tommy Archer has turned it over during their second and final stop. The number 23 Cranium Porsche has made a bit of a loop out there. Bruno Lambert now, I believe, behind the wheel, the driver from Brussels, Belgium. And quick spin, and he got away with it, no problem. He's back and underway.
You gotta love those tires. You gotta love those tires at Sears Point. They are all over the place.
All right, and there's a look at Bruno Lambert in the Cranium Porsche, recovering and starting to move away, while number 1, Brabham, has gone by and put that car another lap down. And Ronaldo Capello continues to just sort of serenely circulate around the Sears Point circuit here, a lap clear. Welcome back to Sears Point. There's the pile of tires that kept the Viper on the road not long ago. Well, many years ago, tires here at Sears Point kept a young driver, Johnny O'Connell, then a very poor up-and-coming race car driver on the road.
Yeah, you know, I taught here, about 10 years ago for the Bonnarant School, and very lean times. I wasn't making a whole lot of money racing then. And because of that, I used to pick my tires. I went to the tire walls here, and they didn't drill the tires together or band them together, so I just go through these tire walls and, yeah, this one's all right, I'll put it on. And I did that for about 2 years, so I owe a debt of gratitude to Sears Point for keeping my car on the road for a while. Luckily, Michelin takes care of me now.
Oh, the woes of a penniless racing driver. Happily now, Johnny O'Connell gets paid to race.
Now perhaps he and Olivier Bretta will commiserate at the end of this one and talk about the glories of tiredom here.
The tire walls are famous here at Sears Point. They've dumped Winston Cup cars on their lids many, many times. Remember, was it last year or 2 years ago here when Ward Burton hit it and went upside down, took half the field with them? All right, they're famous. They absorb energy, but they do provide launching ramps at some time. Here's another lap on the BMW here. The BMW now, JJ Leto is the highest placed car. They are a full 3 laps behind these Audis.
Yeah, and Oberlin is another 30, 40 seconds behind that car. Actually, Capello wanted to put him another lap down as well, but he was going around one of the BMW GT cars, moved around there, and Ronaldo could not get the car, the Audi, down underneath, and he's still chasing.
Something you might be interested in, the Le Mans winning car is actually not here this weekend. In fact, it's not even being used anymore. It is in the Audi Museum back in Germany in safekeeping because it is now a part of history.
Their entire performance there was part of history, and I think that's a legend that will be told many years down the road. Not just the 1-2-3 sweep, but like we talked about, some of the stuff that Audi has come up with. And the amazing thing to me is still that Audi comes out, designs a car built for Le Mans, the tremendously fast straights, but very, very smooth circuit, and yet show up at Sebring, a notoriously bumpy circuit, and that car looks like it's just absolutely smooth as can be, and they dominate there, and they're doing the same thing here now. I mean, this is not the smoothest of tracks, and they continue to be very good. This gives you an idea of just how busy and tight this track is. Oberlin has kept Capello behind him for an entire lap, and you know that car's quicker.
On board now with Bill Oberlin, end of the race, or end of the lap, hard on the brakes. Capello now right, oh, he's gonna squeeze him. Oh, Oberlin moves aside. You see him on the road, chops across. Oh, says thank you very much.
Let him know. That's thank you. You could have done that a lap or two sooner.
Look at the performance difference here. The performance difference between this Audi in race condition and the BMW, just enormous, enormous. Audis are in a different class all by themselves right now.
Totally different league indeed. There is Capello making the climb now up to the top, up and over the rise. Now we go on board, and this is with Frank Bila now driving the number 78 Audi, working through some lap traffic. Here's that turn 5. Straight ahead is the stock car chute, as they say. Now, though, these guys drop down. Here's that. It's a flat plane almost, and then this rise, and then the drop down through that carousel. Just an awesome series here.
Dramatic elevation changes here. A lot of drama yesterday in qualifying when Alan McNish set the fastest lap in the history of this place. Opened back in 1968. Uh-oh, is Brabham in trouble?
He looks to be slowing just a little bit. We're getting reports that it might be transmission related. And if he lost one of those lower gears, I mean, it looks like he's having problems getting out of that hairpin, Derek. If he lost a couple lower gears, I mean,
you know
remember what they just said, it's the slower corners where this car excels.
In deep trouble. In deep trouble is David Brabham. What a shame after the job he did, particularly in that opening stint. J.J. Leto and Jörg Müller in the second of the BMWs now move up to third place. So David Brabham is in trouble. It's either the transmission or possibly it is the clutch. If it's the clutch and it begins to slip, then he has to be really, really careful. 97 laps, 98 laps into this event, just over 2.5 hours, about 15 minutes to go. And David Brabham is beginning to limp badly.
Yeah, Calvin Fish just radioed up and said it's the clutch. So that's what's the struggle on the car right now. And that could very well put paid to any kind of hope they have today. So as we go on board, there's a great shot from the number 92 Viper. The Americans leading, though, in GT. Yes. Just a little over a half hour from Sears Point International Raceway is Muir Woods, and it's home to the tallest trees in the world, the redwoods of California. It's also just an absolutely beautiful park to spend a little time here and get away from it all, if you will. But, you know, when you're done with that, come back to where all the action is unfolding on the track. You are once again on board with the number 92 GTS leading Viper of Tommy Archer. Now it is David Donahue driving. We're coming up to turn 11, and once we get out of turn 11, we're going to lay out here and just crank up the audio, folks, and enjoy a lap with the V10 power plant of this Viper around Sears Point, starting right now.
David Brabham on the left-hand side, so the Panoz is in deep trouble, and that is Stuckey being passed round the outside by the number 92 car, David Donahue and Tommy Archer. There's on board with Hans Stuck right now.
And we really need to comment, I think, about what's going on with that number 92 Viper all season long, and as a matter of fact, more often than not in the last couple of years. This duo of, that's obviously David Donahue driving now, and his teammate Tommy Archer, the All-American tandem, has been finishing second fiddle to Olivier Beretta and Carl Bedlinger. They just haven't been able to quite find the speed of that other car. This could be their first win, certainly in a long time. Certainly this season, I think this is a great opportunity for this team, and it is absolutely wonderful to see a great performance by these two American drivers. However, struggling right now is the Panoz program. The number 2 car is out. The number 1 car is in dire straits. And Calvin, you're with the team manager.
Yes, I am, Greg, and you had a great win at the ring, David, but today David gave it a great shot out there. You have a problem with the car right now. What is it?
Something's failed in the clutch system somewhere. We're just not transmitting the power through, and it's getting worse, inevitably.
The Audis have certainly moved the goalposts this year, David, but you have some exciting plans for the end of the year. Can you tell us about the new engine and the chassis?
Well, we are trying to develop a new car at the moment. with a new engine, a completely new package, and we're hoping to run it before the end of this year and move us back up the ladder a bit.
Okay, mate. Nice job anyway today.
Yeah, thanks, Carl.
Dave Price, of course, from England, ran the British Formula 3 Championship for so long. A lot of success in that before he moved into all the carbon fiber business and then took over the Panoz program 2 years ago, I believe. Runs a European team and runs an American team. But he is frustrated today.
Yeah, and as we watch the number 1 of Brabham just trying to nurse it home to the finish, it is Magnish Capello leading, Biela second. Now the BMW of points leaders Leto and Mueller in third. Panoz struggling here at Sears Point, but it's been a good season. They led briefly at Sebring, showing a good turn of speed. And then as they made the run at Charlotte, a great pass by Jan Magnussen to take the lead. Looked like they may be onto something. Little problems late in the race, let the BMW come through and take the win right there, shortcutting the chicane. That was a lap penalty and it hurt. At Silverstone, they were well placed once again. However, not to be, even though there were problems for the Audi behind. It was BMW once again. Then at Sebring, Mario Andretti joining Magnussen and Brabham. They were fast, but a little fragile, particularly in the gearbox area, and it cost them a shot at the victory there. It all came good at the ring, however. In the wet, some superb tire strategy and a brilliant drive by Jan Magnussen from the start. Then turning over to Brabham, brought the team their first European international win and a big celebration on Victory Circle, well deserved. And it closed things up for them in the points just a little bit. However, Derek, as Brabham just limping around here, plummeting down the order, the points leaders coming in were Jörg Mueller and J.J. Leto in the 42 BMW. They're now up to third behind the 2 Audis. The Audi drivers were 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th in the points, and Jan Magnussen and David Brabham were 3rd and 4th. They're going to lose points. The Audis are going to gain a lot, but in terms of that battle right at the front, those 2 BMW drivers are going to stretch it a little bit more over the Panoz right now, so no problem there.
And there's Guy Smith, Stefan Johansson's teammate, and he is in trouble also. He's going slowly. So Johansson and Guy Smith have had this car now into the top 6, but Guy Smith, and this is a Reynard with a V10 Judd engine, they are in deep, deep trouble. They broke 7 gearboxes in Sebring alone.
And watching the way he came out of that turn, he was looking down like he was hunting for gears, so could be more gearbox-related problems. But this team, Calvin, they have been the team that has stayed with the Reynard, trying to make it competitive, and you're with one of the owners.
Well, with Stefan Johansson, and Stefan has been a bit of a struggle for you today. We see Guy Smith slowing down right now, but I believe power steering issues.
Yeah, we've had a few dramas actually. The car wouldn't restart on the first pit stop, so I think we lost a lap on that one. Then we've had a problem with the power steering where the breaker just keeps popping on the power steering for some reason, so we've ended up taping it down in the end, and it'll either burn up or it'll have power steering basically.
You persevered with the Reynard. I mean, it still seems to be a little bit off. You've run with yours before. You won at Le Mans with that team. Is this car capable of competing against the Audis this year?
We're not capable yet, but I mean, obviously it's a continuous development on the car. I mean, Reynard's, you know, working in the wind tunnel all the time and in the shaker rig and everything. So I mean, you know, hopefully towards the end of the year we'll have a package that'll be strong enough to challenge for pole and hopefully a few wins. But really, I think we've got to focus on next year to really be in a position to be consistently there.
Okay, well, they're just looking at this as a development program, guys, and tough to be out there. Great drivers, great budget with this team, but the Audi is just a steamroller right now.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it is a juggernaut, as we said earlier. There's a good look at Hans Stuck now leading and pulling away, Derek, in that GT division. This, the newest of the cars from the Prototype Technology Group. They've continued to do some work on the internals of the engine to make it a little bit more drivable. And they've also done some work in the suspension area, and these cars really have come good.
And this is Tom Milner's car, his development program here. Remember, they debuted this car probably earlier than they should have at Sebring. They had quite a few problems, did not run well. They elected to pull it out of competition. And now they come back here with 3 cars starting this race. They're coming back with a vengeance. And this has been an impressive performance. And it has been a dogfight all day long here between Hans Stuck and this BMW with Boris Said and the Dick Barber Porsche, it has been mighty. But now with just about 10 minutes to go, Stuck is now, it appears, about 19 seconds clear of Lucas Luhr in Dick Barber's car. But it was a great fight.
Oh, it was. As you said, it took 2 hours to make the pass. But as Boris Said also mentioned, that the longer they got into the stint relative to the other cars, the stronger this one got. We're coming up on about 10 minutes remaining here at Sears Point.
At any racetrack around the country, you'll typically find a lot of prep shops and a lot of race shops located on the premises. Here at Sears Point Raceway, it's no different. It's very convenient for testing. Now, let's take a look inside the Racers Group building. Now, the man who operates this building is a name and face you may recognize, GT racer Kevin Buckler. Kevin, tell us about the business and what happens here on a regular basis.
You bet. The Racers Group is a full-service race and prep facility. We're located here in the paddock at Sears Point Raceway, which is, like you said, really convenient for testing and development. We specialize in the manufacture and distribution of Porsche racing parts. We build engines. We have an engine dyno, a chassis dyno. We have a full-service shop next door. We do a lot of arrive and drive with customers as well.
Tell us about some of these cool Porsches that we see here sitting beside us.
You bet. This car was the 95 Daytona 24-hour winner. Belongs to a friend of ours down in Florida, and we do a little historic racing with him.
There's a 962 sitting beside us. I believe there's a couple of famous drivers drove that at one time.
You bet. That was Michael and Mario Andretti's car in 1988.
And then last but not least, let's take a look at this 935, this Kramer Porsche sitting beside it.
Quite a car. These old 935s took some real guts to drive those cars back in those days.
Kevin, do you ever get a chance to sit behind the wheel of these cars?
I do, and I really enjoy the moment when I can. I'm supposed to shake this car down in a couple of weeks, and I can't wait.
Well, Kevin's the local racer around Sears Point. He knows his way around this track, and he should have put on a great performance here this afternoon.
Well, the performance he put on was good. Unfortunately, a little short-lived as the number 66 car that Kevin normally drives had problems early. But Calvin mentioned it's a prep shop, and they field the number 67 machine for Jennifer Tuminelli and Steve Ariana. And Jennifer got a job as an administrative assistant at Scient Technologies and was talking about racing. Scient, the people there got interested, sponsored her for a couple of races last year, and decided to come on board with a full program for the remainder of the American Le Mans Championship this year. So we'll see that number 67 Scient car at all of the remaining races in the GT division.
And now they're on television. And I never heard of Scient until I saw them on television.
Thus,
on Jennifer's car.
There is the value in racing sponsorship, folks.
Yeah.
A lesson learned, and one espoused upon certainly by Derek Daly. Now this is interesting. It's a little late in the going. Oh! He just hit him!
He absolutely ran into the back of his teammate and team leader and race leader.
And Biela was closing. I think he was going to, they are a lap apart, and he wanted to unlap himself, at least get scored on the same lap, and was taking a run. And suddenly up front, Capello just got bopped by one of those lap cars, and Biela didn't see it happening, and I mean, he tagged him.
Yikes. Luckily, it happened in a straight line in the middle of the high-speed S's. And you know what? I don't think Frank Biela is going to get that close again. I don't see much damage. In fact, I'm not sure. Oh, there's damage on the left front corner. Not much, so nothing that will cause a pit stop. But that is a heartbeat flutter for Frank Biela to run smack into the back of the race leader, Ronaldo Capello.
Well, you saw him. Biela put his hand up like, what just happened there? I mean, it surprised everybody.
With less than 5 minutes to go, and that is the first chink in the armor of traffic that we've seen the Audis trip over. Trying to have a look really closely at the back end of the number 77, and I really don't see anything hanging off that car. But that was just a tad more than a love tap. Great pictures here we have. Great camera work.
No
discernible. Don't see damage.
And may only be 5 minutes to go in the race, but the problem would be that they could change those gearboxes, we know, in less than 4 minutes, but it's less than 2 minutes for a lap around here. There's your problem.
Let's go back and have a look at what happened. Remember, traffic plays a role here. They're trying to get by one of the GT cars. The number 77 car with Ronaldo Capello. Gets on the brakes. Look. You know what?
Why did he get in the brakes like that? Oh, he was coming up on a very slow 36.
You know what? I don't think they hit.
Let's watch the onboard here and listen. Let's listen.
You know what? He didn't hit him. He did not actually make contact. The smoke that we saw was the wheels. Well, that was a wow factor.
That was the definitive close call. If they didn't hit, there couldn't have been much but enough room for a piece of paper between those two cars here, as we are well under 5 minutes here at Sears. Wow. Down to the final couple of minutes here at the American Le Mans Grand Prix of Sonoma at Sears Point. There is your leader in GT. After a brilliant and strategic drive, Hans Stuck is now leading after a great opening stint by Boris Said. We're on board with the legend here, Hans Stuck, as he's starting a lap here at Sears Point. And again, a great battle between his car and the number 5 of Barber Porsche. Now the number 92, here it is. A big win potential here for Tommy Archer and David Donahue driving the 92 GTS Viper from Team Orica. Could be their first win of the season after chasing the teammates. There's a good look at David Donahue in the office and doing a great job. And the white flag has come out for your leader. That's now Ronaldo Capello in the yellow tinted 77 Audi. Right behind them, second place and a lap down, is Frank Biela in the 78 car. We could be looking at another sweep for Audi's R8. They did it at Sebring. They did a 1-2-3 at Le Mans. Looking for a 1-2 here at Sonoma.
And what a stint Alan McNish put in this leading car to put a lap up on the whole field, including his teammate, during a double stint at the start of this race. And I don't think Biela is going to try and attempt to take that lap back. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to do it at all. Just sit there and do a lap less mileage on this car and play it safe.
And of course have that nice 1-2 photo finish up. That always goes good in the Audi advertising materials.
You mentioned the BMW a good strategy in winning the race. The strategy was to go absolutely flat out the whole way. Look, Guy Smith still managed to run around in the Johansson Matthews car, so he does still limp away. David Brabham is still 5th on the road. There he is right there.
And that car right behind those two Audis is a few laps down as well. That's the John Field, Rick Sutherland, Banana Joe's Lola Judd. But here we go. Capello coming in, and he's got Biela on his left shoulder right there as they come through the final corner.
It'll be side by side.
They'll form up, you bet. This will be a formation deal. There's the celebration from the crew. Here come the Audis, their 3rd sweep of the season. Unbelievable performance by this new R8 category of car. And
wow,
we've said before, the bar has been raised, not just in terms of those gearbox changes, but performance by these Audis. They're going to follow this one around. This is a moment of great pride here, not only for the drivers of this car, but everybody watching the American car, the Viper, with 2 American drivers coming through to claim its first win of the season. Here we go. And David Donahue going to bring it home for Tommy Archer and Team Orica, undefeated on the season, including Le Mans. That's their 6th straight win. Let's go right down to Steve Evans with Reinhold Joost.
You can't ask for a more better than this. Perfect. I think this was our weekend. I'm very happy also. My crew is happy make the presentation like this for Audi here in America. And I hope for the next race we are also successful like this weekend here. Congratulations again. It was wonderful to drive and make a good job, and the Michelin tires was okay. So that is nice. Thank you.
That is very nice.
That is just ecstasy.
There's number 7, Hans Stuck, and you might just hear a yodel when he comes across the line as he exits the final turn 11 hairpin, and that little left-hander who kicks it around a bit. Let's listen in. Give it, well, maybe we'll hear it from Victory Circle. Nonetheless, a brilliant drive, and as you said there, the strategy absolutely flat out from start to finish for the BMW program. They knew they could do it. They've been undefeated here since we started racing those cars here, but Audi overall up front again. Welcome back to Sears Point. Our winners are down in victory circle. Cal?
Capello jumps out. He gets congratulated by Alan McNish. Great performance by you two today.
Yeah, we had a good car all weekend with good tyres. And I think that was really the key because we worked very hard all the time to try and make the car easier to drive. Even though we were quick, we knew we had to be easy on the tyres for the race. And it seemed to work so far. Boy, did not too bad for an Italian.
Ronaldo, great run for you.
Yeah, but it was just too easy because he was too good in his first two stints. The gap between me and the second car was very big, and I had just to be concentrated at the end of the race, but he did a very good job.
Congratulations, boys. Those guys, the only time they got close was when Peeler got a little close in traffic, guys.
And you know what? This is huge for Alan McNish. Unquestionably the fastest guy in the team, but at Sebring, he was fast, didn't win. At Le Mans, he was fast, didn't win. This one is very special.
The American Le Mans Grand Prix of Sonoma is brought to you by Porsche, who wish to remind you there is no substitute. And by Nicoderm CQ, the power to calm, the power to comfort, the power to help you quit.
It's time here at the Grand Prix of Sonoma to celebrate with Hans Stuck. Can I get a yodel out of you?
Yes, on the podium. We are floating together, my brother and myself. You will have a yodeling show. You better believe it.
It's as if this track was designed by a BMW engineer.
I mean, you are part of it, but today, I mean, the Porsche had no chance. I mean, it shows the Porsche is only fast on the straight. It's a car for ladies, and we are the men. We beat them in the corner. That's
Anyone
BMW.
can drive fast at the straightaway. Real men driving the corners.
Exactly.
Okay, let's grab David Donahue real quick. Your first win of the year. Congratulations. Great job.
Thank you very much. Really, credit goes to the whole team. It was a team effort. You know, I guess you hear too much of that from all the drivers, but it's really true if you come out to one of the races and you see.
I agree with you. Thanks, man. We got to get off here.
Well, I'll tell you what, a great run, certainly for Donahue and Archer to win in GTS. They're in 8th overall, 10th overall Stuck and Said in a great effort. But up front again, a 1-2 by Audi, and you can't say enough about what Alan McNish was able to achieve here. Awesome job.
Audi, a great demonstration, but I tell you what, the race of the afternoon was that BMW versus that Porsche. I'm glad we watched every bit of it.
We brought it to you, and it was some tremendous racing. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Grand Prix of Sonoma. For Derek Daly, for Calvin Fish, for Steve Evans, and for the entire Speed Vision crew, I'm Greg Creamer. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again. Remember to check out racing on speedvision.com. Take care, everybody.